Everybody, and welcome to an all new edition of Stephen's Kingdom. Tonight, me and Chris are going to be talking about Dolan's Cadillac, Bag of Bones, and Mercy. Believe it or not, I believe Bag of Bones was the only one I had seen prior to today. Hey, Chrissy. Um, and I was pleasantly surprised by all three of them, including Bag of Bones, which I refreshed myself on. Now, I must say, Bag of Bones, I had to go through some parts of it a little quickly to refresh myself because that is mini-series length. So there was no way I was going to be able to, even if I was watching it in between doing tickets today, that I was going to get that completely watched. But it came back to me as I was going through it. But this was a fresh watch for Dolan's Cadillac and Mercy. Um, Richard Baker, aka the Butcher Baker serial killer. Uh, I'm not. I'm a little bit confused by you mentioning that, Chris. But I was trying to think, did that have anything to do with what what movies we're talking about, or is that I hadn't even heard of that particular serial killer. You've seen Bag of Bones. Was that something in there that I missed? Because I didn't remember that in the main part of the story. So anyway, before I get Chris on here, I just want to remind everybody that there will be a all new Everybody Wants England tomorrow night. I do have the schedule up this week. Oh, okay. He was a serial killer from way back. That was the name they gave him. Just found that out. Oh, okay, cool. Hey, Candace. I guess Candace is going to join us chat wise tonight, which is always good. I love to have Candace on camera, but sometimes we have other duties that we got to take care of. So I'm happy that she's able to be in the chat. So, Everybody Wants England will be tomorrow night starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can check out what movies I will be covering if you want to check the schedule out. And if anybody is interested in coming on the stream with me, be sure to let me know and I'll try to make sure I get that link to you. Wednesday will be another apples and oranges. And this was Chris's idea. And this is also a hot button topic. So I want to remind everybody, even if you think you're the nicest person in the world, that because this is kind of a hot button topic, we need to be very, very careful with people's feelings on this. So I don't care how many people we have on here talking about this, but please, I beg of you, if somebody says they support John Landis and you don't agree with it, please, please, please don't let your emotions get the better of you and you say things that you don't mean. This is supposed to be a friendly debate. It's okay if people have different opinions about how they feel about John Landis since the tragedy that happened during the making of Twilight Zone, the movie. I'm not going to downplay it. I'll tell you right now that was a horrific, horrific thing that happened. But let's try to understand each other's feelings and respect each other's feelings as we're talking about this. And that's all. I'm going to get off my soapbox now, but I just wanted to preface this particular show by saying have a little restraint before you say something to somebody that you don't really mean in a heated moment, okay? because I've seen it almost happen in the chat, not for a while, but it has happened. I definitely don't want people getting on the stream and be arguing and having a knockdown, drag out verbal fight on here. Okay. We're all supposed to be having, fun. We're going to be talking about a serious topic, but still, let's keep it on a friendly level. Okay. So we're going to be talking about the tragedy of Twilight Zone, the movie, and the legacy of Landis before, during, and after that film. So Thursday, I'm probably going to have another triple threat review show because, I'm lazy like that. And it's gotten easy to do those. But I will be covering Bubba Hotep, Bug from 1975. I don't know how many of y'all have seen that. And The Burning. So if you want to join me for that and talk about these particular movies, I would be glad to have you on. Friday will be an all-new Terror Time tea, and me and Candace return for Friday Foolish. So Terror Time tea, I'll be talking about one of Chris's favorite films. I'm just kidding. Horror House on Highway 5 and Humanoids from the Deep. And I will be drinking some more tea, and I'm going to try to have some cherry almond scones for a little snack with my tea for Terror Time tea on Friday. That will be at about 11:45 Eastern Time. Me and Candace will return at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday. We're still going to be talking about badass women, but we're going to have an all-encompassing badass women show. Where it's not just going to be centered on horror. We're going to talk about badass women in all genres of film. So be sure you tune in for that. If you want to come on and join us, be sure to let me know. And again, I'll make sure you have the link. But let me go ahead and add Chris real quick here. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Dana, how's it going?
Good. Sorry for the long spiel before we
Oh,
get
no problem. Take your time and get out everything you need to. I mean, you're out there promoting your stuff. I mean, that's what needs to be done. That's more important than bringing me on here.
You and Candace both are an interesting part of these streams, though. So I got to give credit where credit's
Now,
due.
Dana, don't be saying that. You know, the most
The
interesting
truth.
part about these streams is you, and you know it.
I just head up the channel. I'm merely a figurehead, you know.
But I'm glad you did, bring up all that stuff that is coming up on your channel, though, and I am ready to talk about one of that apples and oranges show. So that's like is a really interesting topic. That was just something I was randomly talking about the other night on whatever, I can't remember which stream it was when I brought that up, but but
Yeah,
that
I
it is.
can't remember what stream, but it was a great idea.
It really is an interesting, topic. I mean, like it's controversial, yeah. A lot of people are going to have disagreements on that type of subject. But I just feel like it's something interesting to kind of like bounce thoughts off of each other on,
Yeah.
and because either I could say something that could make someone else like say, well, I didn't look at it like that, or they could say something to me and I could go, oh, that's a good point. So it's always, I think it's good to have those discussions as long as you keep it civil, like you said, and no one's like trying to fight each other or hate each other over their difference of opinions. And it's just, if you think if something like that is a very touchy subject with you, it's probably best that you like don't come on and like on video and discuss it with somebody that might have a different opinion. If you can't handle it, then just like Candace said before, if you can't handle it, stay out of the kitchen.
Stay out of Dana's kitchen.
Yeah, stay out of Dana's kitchen.
I hate Blissful. Um, But yeah, Chris kind of seconded everything that I said. I want as many people to come on here as that feels comfortable coming on here, and as many as we can fit on here without breaking the internet. Keep in mind we can have up to 10 people talking on here at one time. Now, I'm not going to say it won't screw up the internet or might not kick somebody off at some point in time, but it is possible to have that many.
It'd be like that. You ever seen that episode of South Park, Dana, where like the internet got broke, and then like they go to like the main source of the internet,
Oh
and,
yeah,
and,
I think
and it was just a plug in was unplugged or something.
I wish it was that simple. Somebody could just go, "Oh, this is unplugged. Let's plug it in." Um, TJ, let me read your comment here. TJ says, "Can I suggest if people are going to talk about the Twilight Zone tragedy, they should not just go by memory and research it before they give their opinion?" Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Uh, but I will say that's a perfectly good idea, TJ. I'm not putting that idea down, but opinions are opinions are opinions, and it doesn't matter if somebody really, if they read historically what went on, somebody's still going to have their own opinion on that. But yeah, if you want to do your research and look up the case and what specifically happened, that is perfectly fine. I'm not going to tell you you have to, but I think that TJ's suggestion is a very plausible one. It's something that you can do, but I just want everybody to keep in mind also that just because somebody looks into the details down to the most minute detail, we're still going to have our own opinions about it. We're
Yeah,
still going to have our own opinions about Landis. We're still going to have our own opinions about how things were handled during the making of that movie, how many people could have or were involved in the actual tragedy that happened. So, but good point to bring up, TJ. I'm not belittling your point. I'm
yeah,
just saying we have to be prepared for anything and everything, though.
yeah. I definitely do get what TJ's saying, and I do agree with him on that. Like, because where that is a very touchy subject with a lot of people within the horror community and just in general, um, and everybody has had different opinions for several years because of that. But yeah, I do agree that it is a really good idea to, because it is so touchy and people are sensitive about it, to at least know a little bit about what happened and some of the details involved, so that you can at least know what you're talking about and you can back up your opinion on that. Because if you because I've been in that situation before where like I have kind of gave my opinion on something but didn't know the full details, but then like somebody gives me a little extra information, it kind of opens my eyes and gives me a different perspective on things.
Mhm.
So if you don't know a lot about that situation with Twilight Zone the movie and John Landis' segment of that, my advice is to maybe go and watch that Cursed Films episode of the Twilight Zone,
Mhm.
because they really go deep into it and kind of everything that went on regarding that, whether it being behind the scenes of filmmaking, the court case, or whatever. So yeah, definitely check that out. If even if you're not going to be watching apples and oranges this week, which we hope you are, but
Mhm.
if for some reason you're not, find time at any time to watch that episode of Cursed Films and all those other episodes of Cursed Films, because that's such a great show in general. And yeah, like so, I'm that's a good point, TJ. Like I said, I agree with that, and because you don't want to come into it like, well, what's the big deal? I mean, yeah, he made movies, some people got killed, but he made some great movies. Now that is going to set off some,
That's probably gonna set off a firestorm
yeah,
if
it's going
it's
to set off
more
a
to
fire. That's
go.
what I was going to say. They're going to set off a fire with some people, so you don't want to have that kind of attitude going in something like this, because but it is going. I think it is going to be a good time, on that show talking about that stuff and giving different difference of opinions. As long as we can do it in a friendly manner, in a civil way, that's why we want to keep it here.
And also, I don't. I promise it's the last I'll say about it till we get to the show. But I don't like to have to say this, but because I am heading up the channel and I do head up the streams, you can debate. You guys can go back and forth and be friendly about it. But if anybody, and I don't care if it's my best friend in the world, comes on here and starts like, I mean, I'm talking about like having a knockdown drag out and trying to, I think Chris probably knows what I'm talking about here, trying to poke somebody until they start
Right.
jabbing back.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that, folks. We're going to deal with facts as we know them.
And
Okay.
you know what? And this is the last thing I'll say about it too, Dana. But and I think majority of the people um, understand, like, as far as the situation that happened, and there's going to be a lot of people out there, and I think this is going to be the worst of it, honestly, because I expect a lot of people to just kind of understand that was a terrible situation. That was a very awful thing that happened, and it shouldn't have happened. And there was multiple people at fault for that. But but I think the worst of what will come of this is if from people's opinions is just whether they decide to support John Landis after
Mhm,
the fact, or go back and watch any of his films.
mhm.
So, like, I think that's mainly where the the divide lies between people is uh,
Right.
I think both sides are mutually in agreement. From what at least I think they should be. People, as far as like the situation that happened with Twilight Zone,
Mhm.
just being a very awful, and so because anybody that would support that, is
I'd
I don't
be
know.
worried about somebody that
Yeah,
would
I'd be worried
support
about their mental state.
or
Like,
somebody that was just kind of, like, "What's the big deal?" You know? Some
yeah,
kids
yeah,
got
right.
killed,
Like
big girl
that's
got killed, you know?
cold hearted, like
Yeah.
so.
Now, yeah, I would definitely have a problem with that, but I will not oust anybody from the stream unless it gets to a
Out of
knockdown drag
control.
out and somebody trying to egg somebody on to get angry over some or saying just really outrageous stuff in an effort to get on the wrong side of
Yeah,
somebody.
because what people's got to remember is that that's all this is. It's just difference of opinions, and nobody's expecting anybody to be forced to agree with another opinion. If they don't agree with it, that's just how it is. That's how it is with anything. Even if
Right.
it's not something controversial like that, if it's just something regular in everyday life, not everybody's going to agree on things 100% all the time.
It could
And
be what you wanna eat for breakfast. Some people might wanna eat cold pepperoni pizza for breakfast. Somebody said, "No, man,
exactly, it could be
that's gross.
something.
I gotta have oatmeal."
Yeah, it could be something non-trivial like that. It doesn't have to be anything big. Like, but you just have to keep that in mind. Is all I'm saying. Is that you have to keep that in mind. It's like, you know, just because you have your opinion, this person has an opinion, you can't change each other's views on
No,
that, and you're
that's
just going to
very
move
good
on.
very good point, Chris. I appreciate you bringing that up too. So, we'll all do our research, and we'll all be prepared to play nice Thursday night, and if you can't play nice, I'll have to ask you to leave. That'll be the deal.
Get out.
So anyway, now that we got all that out of the way, I guess we'll go ahead and get started talking about these movies. Now, Chris, were you able to watch or have you watched
Um,
these?
I have seen one of these.
Okay,
And that's Bag of Bones. I've seen Bag of Bones,
Vagabonds. Okay.
but I did like you were saying earlier when you started off the stream tonight. I had to do a little quick refresher on a few things.
Mhm.
Really glad I did because there was some things that I kind of forgot about, And but the other two, Dolan's Cadillac and Mercy, I've not seen those as of yet. But
Well,
yeah,
I'll try not to give too much away
I
about
just
the
that's no big deal.
story.
Even if you do, you know, it's just no big deal.
Oh my goodness. I think my dog may have just had an accident in the floor. Permit me to step away for
Oh,
just a
you're
second.
good, Dan. Take your time. I'll try to keep
Chris,
them
can you
entertained.
entertain them for a little bit?
I'll try. All right, people. So, what do you want to talk about? Like Cody Rhodes says, what do you want to talk about? Somebody give me just somebody, TJ or somebody, Chris or whoever or Blissful. Throw us a topic in the chat and let's talk about something while Dana's cleaning up her dog's mess. Blissful, what do you mean define nice? I must have missed something. Had some tomatoes reserved to throw at Uncle Bill. My favorite horror of the 80s, like, well, if it has any kind of horror elements in it, I would say Gremlins because that's my favorite movie of all time. Um, but if I'm just going strictly horror, that's tough because a lot of my favorite horror movies from the 80s have like mixed elements. Some have like horror and comedy, some have horror and sci-fi. Strictly horror. I don't know. I'll get back to you on that one. I'll have to think about that, Chris. I'll let you know. Oh, the concert, Blissful, was awesome. Noah had an absolute blast. For people that don't know, we went to see Judas Priest in Indiana, Evansville, Indiana. And that was my son's first concert. That is because Judas Priest is his current favorite band right now. Um, I mean, literally, I hadn't seen him have a blast like that in a long time. And I mean, he was up the whole night, moving around, singing with the songs, and just he was like doing like the metal horn signs and stuff. And he was like, um, just talking to me in between songs and saying, tell me what a good time he was having. He loved it, and but yeah, we had a great time, and hopefully we can do that again sometime soon. Because like I said, my son is his favorite band is Judas Priest right now, so that was the perfect concert to be his first concert. Um, but he is interested in a lot of other musicians and bands and stuff like that. So I think concerts are going to be really something he's going to be super interested in going forward. He's a big fan of Ozzy. And I don't think Ozzy is going to be doing any more shows. I only got to see him one time, and that was probably about 6 or 7 years ago at a music festival in Louisville, Kentucky called Louder Than Life Festival. And it was kind of a short set that he did, but because of just his health, and he wasn't doing good with his voice at the time, so he had to take several breaks in that set. But regardless, it was I got to see Ozzy Osbourne, and that was like one of my bucket lists as far as concerts go. Um, but I will going back to what Chris asked about my favorite horror of the '80s. I would probably have to say The Thing. I know that's like sci-fi as well, but it it's to me one of the greatest movies of all time, The Thing. And it's also a remake. So because the original was with James Arness, The Thing from Another World. Um, but it's a John Carpenter's version is a remake, and it's possibly the best remake ever made as far as horror is concerned. But yeah, The Thing, that's a movie that I've watched over and over and over and over since I was a kid, and I can memorize almost the entire film. And I just John Carpenter is my favorite director of all time, and I love Kurt Russell, and it's really cool that Wilford Brimley's in that and all that cast. But yeah, we were just talking about. Chris had asked me what my favorite '80s horror was, and it took me
Uh,
a minute to kind of think about, it, but I came down to it and said it's probably The Thing.
I love The Thing as well.
I
It's
love
just
to me
awesome.
it's top five probably films of all time for me.
In fact, I'm going to have to get Chris on here when I do like a watch along rewind for The Thing because I don't think you wanted to be on here
I
and you
want,
couldn't
yeah,
do it.
something was going. I think I had to go somewhere, or something was going on with me. It might have been something to do with like WWE or something, maybe WrestleMania or something was going on. I can't remember.
That could have been that. That sounds right. That it would have been that.
I couldn't really remember. But before you left though, yeah, as I was saying, I've of all these three, I've only seen Bag of Bones, but I do, like I said, I did a little refresher on everything, but I do have quite a bit to say about that. So
And it is another Mick Garris joint. A Bag
it
of
is.
Bones is. I had forgotten that till I went back to
I believe
refresh.
it's the last like TV adaptation that Mick Garris did too, as far as like Stephen King adaptation.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right. That definitely sounds
Because
correct.
he did, I think he did like four. I believe it was five. I was going to say 4 or 5, but I believe it is five if you count Quicksilver Highway, which I count that because that's a Stephen King story.
Mhm.
But it was that one wasn't a mini series. That was just a straight movie.
Yeah, that was just like a, I guess, an
But
anthology.
didn't he do Riding the Bullet too, Mick Garris?
Shoot, I just did Riding the Bullet too.
Let me look and see. I'm pretty sure Mick Garris did Riding the Bullet.
And of course, he did that lovely Shining miniseries
Right.
that we had an apples and oranges on. uh, yeah, it was co-produced and directed by Mick Garris. So,
Let's see. I don't see it on this list for some reason.
oh really?
Oh, it's because it wasn't a TV film. Okay.
Uh,
That was my point I was trying to make. I was trying to say that like of all the Stephen King adaptations that were for TV,
right.
um, so he did The Stand was his first one I think for TV, right? Well, I'll get into that in a little bit when we talk about that, but I'll just let you go ahead and cover what you need to.
Okay, so sorry, I got my mouth full of. Did anybody know that they've got Dunkin's or donut sticks now that are apple cinnamon, and they are absolutely delicious. By the way,
Heard of that. I did find something the other day though. I didn't know they made. I just happened to see them sitting on the shelf at Dollar Tree.
hmm
Was if you like Twix bars, they now have like these little boxes of little. They're like little bite-sized candy, but it's Twix, but it's cookie dough. It's Twix cookie dough
ooh,
bites, and
good.
I had to end up giving. I got a few of them out there, and then I let Noah try one. And he's like,
Oh,
"These
it
are
was all
good.
over
Can I
them.
have some more, Dad? Dad, can I have a few more of those?" I just ended up giving the rest of the box. I was like, "I'll get another box."
Yeah, blissful. I'm torturing you with the apple cinnamon because I told her about that. I sent her a voice message the other night. I was
Mm.
like, "Did you know they have donut sticks or apple cinnamon?" Because I just found them the last time me and Steve went to the grocery this past Saturday. So, but anyway, to get back to the Stephen King movies at hand here, Dolan's Cadillac. I always liked the short story, um, and I feel like that this adaptation of the story is very well done. It's, I mean, it's clear it's made on the cheap, but that's not always a bad thing. And I think Chris would probably agree with me on this that something can be made on the cheap without being completely cheesy. And then it can be made on the cheap and just be all out, just a gigantic cheese ball.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that because I mean, there's a lot of films out there that are really great films that had, probably next to no budget a lot of the times, but they do with what they can, and they make it work. It's all that
Mhm.
matters.
And in this movie, we have Christian Slater. I just could it was hard for me to wrap my head around this, but he does a good job. He does an excellent job of playing this evil, sadistic man. But I'm not used to seeing Christian Slater play characters like that. My head's still back in the 80s when he was doing probably the darkest thing he ever did during that time period was Heathers.
Heather's, yep.
Yeah. But I was thinking about Legend of Billie Jean and all that stuff like that. Those types of films where there were dark elements in there, but for the most part, they were whimsical. And, when you go back and you watch them now, it's like a snapshot of the 80s during that time period. You don't see that Christian Slater in Dolan's Cadillac. He is an evil, evil man. He's pretty much like I guess, like a mobster crossed with a guy that does human trafficking, and I believe he's involved with drugs. And so you see how sadistic the guy is. They're trucking in a load of they appear to be I think some of them are Hispanic women, some of them are Asian women, and they're in the back of this semi truck. And these two guys are driving them, and you think they're driving them to get them across the border. Um, and the women are complaining because, the one's saying, I gotta take a piss. She's wanting those guys to stop and let her out, and they ain't stopping for nothing because they're trying to get to their destination. And so she beats on there's these fans back there blowing on them because they're shut up in the back of a semi. So there's not much air circulation back there, and it's obviously hot. And I think they're maybe in Las Vegas, like out in the desert area or something like that. So it's blazing hot. So when the woman beats on these fans, it shuts them off, and then the lights go out. But they have some kind of lights back there, and the women just all panic. Now here comes Dolan in his like custom Cadillac. It's like a Cadillac SUV. I know y'all probably have seen those Cadillac SUVs. So he doesn't have a traditional Cadillac, but he's got a Cadillac SUV, and he's got this woman that drives him around. And he's got I guess it's his hitman or something. He sends this guy out to do a lot of dirty work. This guy's got a neck tattoo and everything, and you can just look at this guy and tell he's up to no good. So I think what they were doing was bringing these women across the border, and these women evidently were so desperate to get across the border that they would risk being sold into prostitution. So we assume that that's what he's going to do. He's going to pick out the best women, the hottest women, and he's going to mess around with some of them, and he's going to, send the rest of them, I guess, except his little pets that he's going to keep, but he's going to send the rest of them into prostitution. So, and he's going to reap the benefits of all this. So, he pulls up in his SUV Cadillac and gets out. Him and his hitman or his sidekick or whatever you want to call it, both have guns, I believe. And he goes up to the driver, and the driver says, I'm sorry, Mr. Dolan. And that's about all he gets out, and the guy shoots him in the face. So Dolan shoots him right smack dab in the face, and then I believe he kills the other guy. Then they open up the back of the truck, and it appears that a lot of the women are dead. I guess they suffocated or, died from heat exhaustion or something. But this guy, too, and his wife, they're both teachers at this middle school, I believe. And the wife was out horseback riding, and she sees what's going on with Dolan and these women. And she's got her cell phone out. She's trying to like get help or let somebody know that something awful is going on. He's killing people right in front of her. And the problem with that is Dolan sees her, and the lady that's his driver sees her. She drops her cell phone and then rides off on the horse because she's so scared. So they've got her cell phone. So guess what? They know who she is because they got her cell phone. So it basically ends up being one of those things that is like a mob killing. You know how the cars explode when you turn them on and things like that? That's exactly what happens to this guy's wife, because they want to get rid of anybody that might have seen what went on, you know. So the government promised to protect the guy and his wife. They put him up in a safe house. But here's the thing, his wife was wanting to get pregnant so badly that you see her several times taking the P test, the pregnancy test, those home pregnancy tests. Any woman that has tried really hard to get pregnant is very familiar with those things. And they kept coming out negative, and she was so disappointed. And so while they're at this safe house, there's not a whole lot to do. So I guess evidently they were having sex a lot. So she takes one, and it's negative, and she's sad. And then I don't know if this is a day later or what, but she gets up and she's sick in the middle of the night. She has to vomit, and some little light bulb goes off. Ding! Well, maybe I'm pregnant, and she smiles and she looks, but she doesn't have any more pregnancy tests there. So she thinks, well, I'll just sneak out and go get a pregnancy test and come back. Bad move. Because even though they've got some cops watching this safe house, she still slips out. Her husband finds out that she's left. He runs to the front of this building, and he's calling to her. She's already in the car. She turns to look at him and smiles, turns the car on, it explodes. So basically, his wife and, we're led to believe, unborn child are both dead in that explosion. So what happens? The guy loses his shit, and the one person he wants to kill is Dolan. So he gets this job working for road construction crews that set up detours, and they work on the roads and stuff like that, just so that he can work by himself during a holiday weekend. Nobody else around. And he knows that Dolan's going to be coming in his Cadillac SUV down this particular stretch of road. So he devises this plan to cause the vehicle to go into this giant hole that he set up in the road. So the driver dies in the accident. His hitman is crying like a baby because he's got some broken bones. He's bleeding. And he ends up dying. So there's only Dolan left. I mean, basically with the dead bodies. He cannot get out of the vehicle because As anybody knows, with a lot of these vehicles, everything is run by a computer or it's run by power of some sort. If you don't have power, you can't roll down the windows. If you have some kind of skylight thing, you can't open it. So basically, he's trapped. So the guy whose wife got murdered says, "Aha, I got you right where I want you now." And he ends up burying him alive and putting road over top of Dolan and his Cadillac, hence the title Dolan's Cadillac. But I think it's a great little, revenge story. It's very hard to watch the wife get killed, and I was expecting her to get killed, but not that way. I was expecting them to shoot her or something like that, and then the car just explodes. Um, but I hope that I didn't give too much away where Chris won't want to watch this one.
Oh no, that's fine, Dana.
I get
Yeah,
going
I
sometimes, and
I'm actually not. I'm not really familiar with that story either. Like that would be the book or not. Let alone I didn't know they made a film of it.
yeah,
But everything that you described from it does sound interesting. It seems like something I would check out. And you were talking about Christian Slater being like a sadistic type character in it.
yeah.
That's that's where I'm kind of scared because about watching it because I can't see Christian Slater like just knowing what I know him from and
Yeah.
yeah, he does kind of have a dark character in Heathers, but I've watched Christian Slater growing up. Like when he was in another one of my favorite movies called The Wizard.
That's right,
He
yeah.
plays Fred Savage's older brother, and he was in uh, he was a radio DJ in this movie called Pump Up the Volume.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, there's just stuff like that because we're in. Also, he's not a very like intimidating looking person to me.
Mhm.
So to think of him being like the sadistic that which there are a lot of sadistic people in the world that have done things that don't on the outside do not look intimidating. So I get that. But things that they do in out that are it's not in the public eye, it can shock you, I guess. Just that someone that doesn't look intimidating can actually do some very perverse and very deceptive things and in their private lives. And so that is that makes it interesting too, like that they chose Christian Slater for a role like that because it, just what I said, like it's kind of like that, like you look at guys like if you didn't know anything about him, if you just looked at you seen a picture or seen in person during that time of Jeffrey Dahmer, you
Yeah.
wouldn't think like that's a very that's a guy that does the stuff that he was doing in
Yeah,
private.
you would just I think I would think he was just a loner, kept to himself, but
Because
not anything bad.
but that's and this is it's a negative way, but it's when they say don't judge a book by its cover.
Mhm.
um I mean that's the same way either way you look at it.
Mhm. And something else I wanted to bring up about this. So, I'm wondering if they did this on purpose because Christian Slater, when he was in Heathers, his character's name was JD.
Hmm.
So, his full name is like James Dolan or Jim Dolan in this
Okay.
movie, and he says, "Nobody's gonna put one over on old JD," and he yells that out, and I'm like, I'm wondering if they just put that on in there on purpose, the initials.
Possibly, I would think.
Because I mean, not everybody would get it, but definitely, I think people that have seen Heather's would get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that was I don't might have been suggested by someone, either him or one of the filmmakers. But yeah, it does seem a little coincidental,
Mhm.
for that to be in there.
But they have Christian Slater say it, and
Right.
not anybody else is mentioning JD but
Not
him.
really, not really coincidental, but I mean, like a little bit suspicious. Like, but it could have been coincidental too. Like, it could have been just
Mhm.
something that they weren't referencing Heather's, and they just kind of threw that in there. But I think it's the other way. I think it was definitely probably a reference to Heather's.
Um, but I guess I'll give my rating on this. And again, once again, people, I don't have my halves in there. So you're just going to have to visualize a half for
Half
me.
of Ash is, or no, not Ash. That's for the other. Or you do Ash, the picture of Ash on there. Okay, you do that for
Yeah,
all.
the dead-eyed ash.
For
So,
some reason, I was thinking you use different pictures for all your different scales, but it's like
oh no, it's the same one. That probably would have been cooler if I did that though.
have like a Stephen King's face for like the Stephen Kingdom, and Robert Englund, like Freddy Krueger or something like face for the
I
Robert
could
Englund face.
have. I guess I'm lazy. I should have
No,
done
but it works because it's your channel. It relates to your channel name. So
so I'm going to give this one 3.5 stars. So just visualize that half in there. It wasn't completely perfect, but it was a very good watch and enjoyable. And I could see myself going back and watching it again. Um, so moving on to the one that me and Chris can both talk about, because this is the one that we both seen, is Bag of Bones.
mhm.
Which, whoops, I loved going back and watching this kind of quickly, but I loved going back and watching it because I had read the book a while back, Bag of Bones, and I really, really enjoyed the book. Um, Now, I will say that there are some mini series, and this definitely was mini series length. There are some miniseries. Well, let's just say miniseries are not created equal in the Stephen King universe or in any universe. So you have some that are good, some that are horrible, and some of them are just somewhere in the middle. Now, do I think this is the best miniseries that was based on Stephen King's work? No, I reserve that for some other films. Was it one that I definitely could see myself going back and watching multiple times because I feel like this film has a lot of layers? Then yes, I could do that. Um, Pierce Brosnan is great in this. Annabeth Gish, uh, which I still think about when I think about Annabeth Gish, I think about the movie Mystic Pizza. And I don't know how many of you in here, I think Blissful has seen Mystic Pizza, but I don't know how many of y'all have seen Mystic Pizza otherwise. It's a movie that has not only Annabeth Gish in it, but Lily Taylor's in it, Julia
Julia
Roberts,
Roberts.
hmm Vincent D'Onofrio, and I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. TJ will get me because I think I pronounced it wrong the
Vince,
last.
Vincent D'Onofrio, is that who you said?
Yeah, yeah, and let's see if oh, what's the other?
I've never seen Mystic Pizza. I just knew the only person I knew from it was Julia Roberts because I remember seeing like the cover of it. I guess for the the movie at the video store. But no, I've never seen that. I'm actually not familiar with any of Annabeth Gish's like film roles. Really, I know her more from TV stuff, like X Files, and
Right.
she's in some of Mike Flanagan's works, like Haunting a Hill House and Fall of the House of Usher and Midnight Mass. But but that's about the extent of her work that I know.
But I like Annabeth Gish in this a lot, and I think her and Pierce Brosnan have chemistry together. I think that they
Well,
play
for what we see of it, I mean, she has like presence, her character's presence is throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
But
It's scattered throughout the whole.
yeah, she doesn't have a very like overly large role in this. I didn't think, at least. Um, I mean, but like I said, she's present like throughout the whole thing. Um, but yeah, I had to. It's been a while since I've seen this one. Like I said, I had to do a refresher on it. I remember like liking parts of this series. It's not the worst Stephen King miniseries that's been put out there, and it's not, to me personally, in my opinion, it's not even the worst miniseries Stephen King adaptation that Mick Garris has done.
Right.
Um, I I would think now, like, that I have seen it. I, and not to hurt your feelings, Dana, but
No, it won't hurt my
I
feelings.
have to say his Mick Garris's The Shining is probably the worst like
That
series.
is okay. See how well me and Chris get along on
Mhm.
here? That's what I'm telling everybody else they should do. We can have different opinions on
And
stuff.
that's just for Mick Garris. Is that I don't know what I can't really. I'd have to address all of the different miniseries that were Stephen King adaptations
Hmm.
to figure out what was the worst. But the first one I think of though is Mick Garris's The Shining. That's the one because I really didn't care for that one. But yeah, this was like the fifth TV Stephen King adaptation that Mick Garris did. The first one being The Stand,
That was probably my favorite, The Stand.
and he did Quick, which is not a miniseries, but it was done for TV, which is Quicksilver Highway, and in that same year is when he did The Shining miniseries, and then after that he did Desperation, and then this was his last Stephen King miniseries that Mick Garris did was Bag of Bones. And like I said, I remember kind of liking this one, liking a lot of parts. I think it had an interesting story, a very wild story to it.
Yeah, I
But
like the multiple ghosts in it.
yeah, I mean, and I like Pierce Brosnan because my introduction to Pierce Brosnan was, it's hard to say because I remember watching them around the same time because he was in Mrs. Doubtfire
Yeah.
with Robin Williams, and he's also one of the more well-known James Bond. His portrayal of James Bond in GoldenEye, World Is Not Enough, um, and I think GoldenEye was the first James Bond film I ever seen, and I really liked Pierce Brosnan in that, and also he was in that movie Dante's Peak. I really liked that one, and but this miniseries, Pierce Brosnan plays a role that I've never seen him play in any others. And and he does kind of have a wild, role in Lawnmower Man as well. And I do not like that movie at all. I don't like
You want to talk about something not following Stephen King material? He sued to have his name taken off of that. That's how bad.
Lawnmower Man. Like there's times in Lawnmower Man that movie gives me an absolute headache.
Yeah.
Just because of some of the shots in it, like, and it's just, I don't know, like I don't want to watch that. I have no interest in seeing that movie again.
I don't think
But
I've seen Lawnmower Man in years. And I'm talking years and years and years.
if I was given like a short synopsis, which I'll talk some more about this because, like I said, this is a very interesting miniseries.
Mhm.
But if I was to give a very short synopsis of Bag of Bones, so it's just basically, altogether probably about 3 hours of Pierce Brosnan seeing a bunch of ghosts and losing his fucking mind.
Well, yeah, you could nail it down to that.
And he gets beat up a lot by some unexpected stuff within the film. So, yeah, but like I said, it's so interesting. But I'll let you go and talk some about it, Dana.
Okay, so I'm going to tell this in a nutshell because it is a mini series length film. So I'm not going to cover every single aspect of it, but in a nutshell, Pierce Bronson is playing a writer. Um, Michael Noonan, I believe's his name in the film,
Hmm.
and he is a novelist who is kind of like a Stephen King type, you know.
But Stephen King does that a lot in his stories.
Yes, he did.
Always features a lot of writers within his
But I
stories.
will agree with Chris that this is a role I've never seen Pierce Brosnan play
It's
before.
crazy. Like some of the stuff that, which I'll get into that in a minute. But there's like some stuff I remember because I had it when I did the refresher on. I'm like, oh my god, I forgot that happened, and it's like it's just something completely out there. But yeah,
So he's at a book signing, and his wife is there with him, as we said, played by Annabeth Gish. His wife Jo is with him, and as a wife would probably get bored at a book signing that where her husband's signing books, she tells him, I'm going to go get some lunch. I'll be back. Well, we kind of know she's not really going to be back. Not not the way
well,
she
we
left.
don't know that yet, but we soon find out.
But I had, I think because I had read the book though, I was remembering something's going to happen to her at some point
Right. Yeah,
because
yeah. When I watched this, it was completely like just fresh to me. I had not read the book, so I wasn't really knowing what to expect. But yeah,
so here he is signing books, and he knows that his wife has left to go across the street and get something to eat. And he hears sirens. And my mom is like this. Anytime she hears sirens, she panics. She goes into panic mode. That, is it somebody I know? Is it a family member? Is it this? Is it that? She just can't help herself. So you see his face change in the movie, and he becomes afraid, and he becomes more and more afraid. He gets up, he leaves the table where he signed the books, he walks outside, and as he gets close to the road, he sees his wife, and she's been hit by a vehicle, and she's not looking too good at this point. And
it was a bus, I believe, right?
yeah, it was a very very large vehicle, and so we see him going to her. There's not really audio in this part of it. We just see him picking her lifeless body up
Mhm.
and cradling it. Um, Similar to me, and I hate to bring this up and bum people out, but kind of similar to how um, Lewis holds Gage, not when Gage gets killed in the road, but after he digs his son up and he's holding him. Now, keep in mind that's a child, it's not an adult. But the way he's cradling his son
I didn't think about that.
is similar to me to the way Mike Noonan is cradling his wife
Yeah,
Jo.
I agree with that. I mean, I hadn't thought about that, Dana, but that's a really good point. Because it is like the way he's Mike or Chris Brosnan's character Mike is
Mhm.
cradling Joanne in this. Um, that's very similar to how um, what is his name when he's in Pet Cemetery. Is it Lewis? Is it Lewis?
Lewis, yeah.
Lewis as he's holding Gage, yeah.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's I hadn't thought about that, but that has to be intentional, I would think.
And Mick Garris is what he didn't make Pet Cemetery, he didn't direct Pet Cemetery, but let me tell you something about Mick Garris. I can tell when Mick Garris talks that he's very schooled in film. He's a student of film. You know that he's watched a lot of films, including a ton of horror movies over the years. Now, you can say he's a terrible director all you want, but he's a very knowledgeable
Hmm.
man when it comes to these types of films. So there's no doubt that he studied Pet Cemetery. So it would only stand to reason that he put little bits and pieces
I
from
don't
he'd seen.
I don't think he's a terrible director by any means. I think he's just had a few like misses. And I think
Mhm.
that's how a lot of directors are. All directors have hits and misses with their work, and I honestly can't think of one director that didn't have a few stinkers out there. Like even like John Carpenter's my favorite director of all time, but I'm not a huge fan of Ghost of Mars
I'm not either.
or The Ward. I'm just but that's just like I said, that's how like I think a lot of directors are. It and maybe he just Mick Garris made a couple of bad choices, but I think that's like again that's the same thing with all people. But that's just like my opinion.
Mhm,
There may be somebody out there that loves everything that Mick Garris has ever done, and that's great. More power to you on that. But I'm rambling again, Dana.
no, that's fine, you're not rambling. You're making some very good points. Um, so after his wife dies, um, he goes back to, like, I guess it's a summer house where sometimes they would stay together, sometimes Joe
Yeah,
would
it was
stay
like a
by.
cabin or something like that. But
Mhm.
and like, but before that, before he goes there, he's because of what happened to his wife, he's having like writer's block,
Writer's
and
block.
he's having like nightmares about because he goes like he has the nightmare about going out to this like the middle of the woods, and he like there's a casket out there in the woods. It's supposed I guess it's supposed to be like Joe's casket, and like he's just like panicking, and again these are just nightmares. And I guess it's just like what he feels is like that's Joe kind of reaching out to him in a way.
Mhm.
But I think is it's like his brother or somebody like tells him that he should go out to like that summer house.
Yeah,
I think it's his brother if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it was. Um, and what I really, really liked about this, and I talked about it a little bit earlier briefly, is that there's not just one ghost. There are multiple ghosts. There's
Hmm.
multiple stories that are intertwined in this. And there's a mystery surrounding this that
Yeah, and you
comes to light.
they kind of mention like soon, like with all that, like all the different like there's a bunch of different ghosts like throughout that town. But it's because I believe it's the lake he's staying in is called like Dark Score Lake or something
Stars
like
were
that.
like, yeah.
And that's what they kind of talk about that like within that town there's it's called Dark Score Crazy, where like all these men
Mhm.
are like going through this like mental state of madness to
Yeah.
where they're trying to like kill their loved ones and stuff.
Yeah, there is a theme running through this that um men and, well, I guess mothers too, but they mainly show the fathers drowning their children. There are
Yeah.
several scenes of them pushing their children underwater, and you see, in fact, you can see a girl underwater there on
Hmm.
the cover of the DVD. And at first, you're like, what in the heck is going on here? You also have the ghost of a blues singer, Sarah Tidwell, that
Hmm.
keeps showing up periodically, including in Mike's nightmares.
Yeah. And I found out a really interesting like fact about her, the actress that played Sarah.
Hmm.
Her name was Anika Noni Rose,
Hmm.
and I thought I recognized that name. And uh, while I've never seen this film, Candace talks about it a lot, and she says that I should, sometime watch it. She thinks I would really like it. It's a Disney film,
Hmm.
and it was The Princess and the Frog. So that actress that played Sarah was the voice of Tiana from Princess and the Frog,
Okay.
and I know that's a pretty popular like Disney movie to this day still because she was the that was the first African American princess from Disney. So
Hmm. And she was also in Dreamgirls, which is a movie that I would like to see, but I haven't seen that one.
is that the one where like it's the all female like group from the 50s.
I believe so, 50s or
Is
60s.
like is Beyonce in that one, or am I thinking of something
She
else?
may be.
Which I don't care if she is or not. I'm not a Beyonce fan by any
Beyonce.
means. I just yeah, I just know that she's been in a few movies, and that's about my extent the knowledge on Beyonce.
um, Batman has a question. He says Disney had only one slasher. Does anyone know what it was?
Um, Watcher in the Woods, maybe. I don't think
Let us know if Chris was right on that, Batman,
is it Watcher in the Woods.
because I don't have a clue. But we'll go ahead and keep talking. But if Batman pops that in there, we'll read that. Um, Chris, do you think I should give away the mystery of this, or do you think I should leave it
Well, I mean,
open?
I think we should talk about it. I think because it's a very
It's a
pivotal
yeah,
point of
it's an
the
important
film, and but just be warned if you've not seen this
part. Yeah, you might
and
want
you
to
want
step
to
away
watch it,
now.
this is a very big spoiler for the story for this.
Yeah. So I'm going to give a count of two here, and then I'm going to go move forward with it. So you've been warned, you know. Okay. So we keep seeing Sarah Tidwell. She was a blues singer from way back. And you know, at first you may be wondering, well, why is Mike singing her? Why is she haunting this area? So as the movie goes along, we figure out that Mike's grandfather, I believe, had something to do with, I'm assuming that it didn't go that far, but I'm assuming that his grandfather and these other group of men assaulted her sexually, is why I think, and they beat her too. Because she spits on one of the guys and he messes her up more. Um, Batman says it was Stay Alive, about a ghost game that if you died in the video game, you died in real life.
I know that movie. That's a Disney movie. Or is it put out like one of maybe Disney's like sister productions or something like who was it is it did Disney do something? What was the studio that put out Nightmare Before Christmas?
Mm,
Because I know Disney owns a bunch of different studios outside like the regular like Disney brand stuff that they put. Because I don't remember Stay Alive being a Disney movie. If it's the one I'm thinking of, it's got Frankie Muniz in it.
well,
Uh,
this says, I was looking this up online. It said it was produced by Mick G and was released on March 24th, 2006 in the
Touchstone.
US.
Yeah, Batman said Touchstone. So is that who you said put it out or who?
This says Hollywood Pictures. It was the first film in 5 years released by Hollywood Pictures. It was also Disney's only slasher film.
Wow, that's news to me. But I like that movie. I like that movie, Batman. That's a really good one. Good concept.
I don't guess I've seen that. I maybe need to check that one out.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like if you're especially you're into like the horror survival video games, like I
Mhm.
am, like Resident Evil and Silent Hill, stuff like that. Yeah, it's this movie about these people that play this game, and it kind of the killer in the game kind of has like a Lizzie Borden type character,
Mhm.
and so however your character dies in the game, you die the same way in real life. So yeah, it's worth checking out.
So, something else I wanted to touch on in regards to this movie and the Stephen King story, it's very similar in tone to another film called Ghost Story, based on a book by Peter Straub. And Peter Straub actually has a connection with Stephen King. We're talking about 6 degrees of separation with Stephen King here. because Stephen King and Peter Straub, I think they've been friends for years and years and years. They collaborated on more than one book together. So um, it maybe Stephen King maybe pulled that from, Peter Straub's Ghost Story, because what Ghost Story is about is it about a group of men that call themselves the Chowder Society, and they're old men when the movie starts out, and something or someone is slowly killing them off or scaring them, or they fall to their death or whatever. And it turns out that when they were all young men, they took advantage of this young woman and accidentally killed her, or they thought they killed her at that time. So they put her in the trunk of a car and do a Norman Bates. And well, not maybe not the trunk of the car, the back seat of the car, maybe.
So did you say that they didn't mean to kill her, but they accidentally
I
killed
think
her?
it was an accident that they killed her.
Okay, that's something. Just go ahead. I'm gonna bring something up regarding that here in a minute.
Okay. So they put her in the back seat of the car and try to pull a Norman Bates and push her into water to let the car sink. But as the car is sinking and they're watching, she is not dead. And she essentially drowns. So what is happening is her ghost is coming back to get revenge on these men for what they did to her when they were all younger. So, but you go ahead, Chris. I know.
It was just something stupid. I was just thinking like when the way you were describing that, how like it was like an accident killing her, and then they put her. You said they put her in like in a trunk of car or back seat or something like that. My mind just immediately went to Jawbreaker, um, as they accidentally killed their friend, and they put her like in the trunk of their car.
Yeah.
Um, I love that movie. So
But if you haven't seen Ghost Story, I would highly recommend it, and I would highly recommend the book as well. I absolutely love the book too. Um,
one thing you mentioned though, Diana, you were talking about because there's all these different ghosts that are all around in this
mm,
film, and like one early in the film, when he gets into that town and everything, it's like because they kind of had already explained about the dark score crazy, like kind of the mental state of some of the men within the town, and having that curse on them and everything, and trying to like kill like the fathers killing, trying to kill the daughters and stuff like that. There is a ghost, and to me, this is the creepiest part of the whole series, mini series too, is when Pierce Brosnan's character Mike goes into this bathroom, and this little girl ghost who like you could tell like she's like um it looked like she had been dead for a really long time. She looks like almost like
right.
a zombie, and she comes out of that bathtub out of it, and I'm gonna tell you, like that really creeped me out. Like said,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things about this series. With it, regardless of what you like it or you don't like it, you can't deny that this series had really good gore to it in parts, really good makeup effects, just visual effects, and just and it's yeah, I just don't see how anybody could deny that because they done a really good job. Like I said, that little girl, the ghost girl, comes out of the bathtub, like she's just looks like she has been dead for years, and like she's like just it looks like her body is rotting and everything, and it looks like the effects on that look really good.
And there's something about this stuff happening to kids as opposed to adults. If you see a zombie kid or a half rotted kid, that's
Yeah,
going to affect you way
it
differently
can.
than an
Yeah,
adult.
absolutely.
And it is creepier, I think, than having an adult be in this makeup or, which sometimes they don't want to put a lot of heavy makeup on kids and appliances and all that stuff. And sometimes, you know, uh, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but little people. Can I say little people? Is that okay to say a little person?
Sure. Um,
I
but
don't mean any disrespect to them.
ar- around that same like part of the series though, after that happens, there and I referenced this earlier, but like I said, I had never seen a role by Pierce Brosnan like this miniseries, and and this was comical. I don't know about anybody else, but this was kind of comical to me how he acted in this particular scene. But when he's kind of like feeling that presence of Sarah,
Yeah,
and he goes to the tree, I think they call that tree the Green Lady
yeah,
tree, if I'm not mistaken, and he just puts his hand on the tree
mhm.
and just like immediately like goes into like this seizure type state
Yeah, I
and
know.
projectile vomiting
Yeah,
everywhere. And you're as a viewer, if you don't know anything about the story, like I did, I had not read the book or anything, and I'm seeing this and just knowing like Pierce Brosnan's history and film and everything, and you know that's a wild thing for me. And I was really taken aback. I'm like, what is going on here? I was like, and it's not
that's
the
a
fact that
bizarre scene.
and not just the fact that where it came from the story. It's just like how I have perceived Pierce Brosnan's roles over the years, and seeing him do this, it's very like different.
Mhm.
So, but I not different to where I don't like it because I did appreciate it. Like I found that scene comical, but not comical to like well, that's stupid. I don't like it. It's comical to the point like it's just I have a really dumb sense of humor. That I like that kind of stuff.
Well, you gotta find your entertainment wherever you can find it,
Yeah.
right? And
Hmm.
in a movie like this where we're dealing with some heavy material here. We're dealing with some very dark material. The death of Mike's wife, we're dealing with the death of the blues singer,
Right.
and not only her death, but these men kill her child too. They kill Sarah's child.
And we've not even mentioned Maddie and Kyra yet.
Right.
Maddie is this uh, woman that Mike meets as coming into that town, and she has a daughter named Kyra, and that and Maddie is played by Melissa George,
Yeah.
which in the horror genre you may know her from like the Amityville Horror remake from 2005. She was also in 30 Days of Night. And I'll be honest, like I when I see her in films, I get her confused sometimes with Rachel McAdams because they have a very similar look.
Yeah, exactly.
Their eyes are very similar to me, and so I think when I first saw this and I saw her in the film, I thought it was Rachel McAdams, honestly. But then I looked it up. I was like, oh, what? Well, that is Melissa George. And I looked at side by side. I was like, wow, they
Mhm.
look a lot alike. Um, but yeah, and that plays a big, huge part of the story too. If, the Maddie and Kyra's
Mhm.
characters in this,
Yes, they do.
and so like there's a point where because there's this his I think you already said it was his grandfather, Mike's grandfather, which is the character's name is it's the old guy's name is Max, and he
Mm.
has this like lady with him, although that's his assistant, and they have been trying to like get custody of someone, if I'm not mistaken. Um, there's something went on with one of the children characters in the film where they were trying to get custody of them.
Were
Maybe
they trying to get maybe they were trying to get Kyra because there was that whole scene where they were all talking and asking Mike questions, and they were asking Kyra's mother
maybe that's
questions.
it. So that's where I'm confused though. So was he Mike's grandfather or was he Maddie's grandfather? If they were trying to get custody of Kyra, because see, that's what I can't really
Well,
remember.
I thought when Mike goes to the nursing home and he talks to a friend of I thought his grandfather. I thought he said me and your grandfather were friends, and he tells him the story, and they go back and talk about when they killed the blues singer.
I probably need to watch this again because, like I said, I had when I did a refresher on it, like
Mhm.
there was some stuff that wasn't very clear in my mind, and that's one of them really. But anyway, what I was trying to get at was there's a scene where they're like on this cliff by the lake,
Yeah.
and he's talking to Max and his assistant, and there's just I can't really tell you the whole details of what they're going to. I know it had to do with the little girl and the Maddie character. And what I remember about that scene the most though is that the lady assistant to Max just wails on Pierce Brosnan and knocks him into that lake and starts picking up stones and
Yeah.
throwing them at. And she's like screaming and laughing the whole
Yeah.
time she's doing
Yeah,
that.
she's a crazy, crazy bitch. I'm sorry, but she is.
Yeah, and she kind of looked like Barbara Steele, like what Barbara Steele looks like now.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the actress's name that plays this is Max's assistant in this. But yeah,
Candace is
she.
bringing you food, Chris.
Oh, okay,
She
sounds
says she's
good.
bringing you some food.
But yeah, she was like a very crazy bitch, like you said. So,
Yeah. Especially toward well, there's that scene that you just talked about, and then there's near the end when you think
oh yeah,
everything's
that's an even better one.
over. But um so I think that I may have missed something, but I think that they were trying the one scene where I was talking about that Max and his assistant and the sheriff, I believe it was the sheriff,
Mhm.
and maybe a lawyer for Max were talking to Maddie and they were talking to Mike, and I think they were trying to show that there was some neglect of the little girl so that they could get custody of her.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
And
Like I said,
I think that they wanted to kill the little girl off.
well,
So
I mean, that's just the kind of a continuing thing within that town. Like, it's just because that curse was placed on these men in the town to do that, and which I don't know if you got into that yet, but that's basically that came from Sarah from what they did to
yeah,
her.
she put a curse on the entire area, and you hear her screaming at
Mhm.
them. She said, "I will put a curse on you. There will be a curse on you, and the men will kill their daughters." And I thought she said that the mothers would kill their sons.
Um, well, see, that's I think so because that is the reason why the Max character, the older feller, he like has such disdain for Maddie because um she either killed or was trying to kill his son. His son, he had a son named Lance, and she either killed him or she was like I said, I'm just kind of doing this from memory, so sorry guys, I apologize. Um, but it was something to that effect. But
Mhm.
and not not to like forget about what some of the stuff that kind of reflects around this story, but like this all this stuff is going on with the ghost and the stuff with like Max and his sister, all this there's different multiple things going on within this story, but all during this, Mike Pierce Brosnan's character is actually still struggling with the loss of his wife Joe, and then there was something we forgot to mention, like in the beginning, like right after she gets killed, like doesn't he discover like a pregnancy test, and like he starts like and he knows that he had like a low sperm count or something, so he was thinking that like she was cheating on him or
Yeah,
something.
because I think you're right, Chris, because there's a scene where he's talking to I guess she's the housekeeper for the
Yeah, like I
summer house.
thought that's what it was, but then I thought that was such a weird like because that's something they don't really like develop in the rest of the story, and I felt like that wasn't needed. I felt like
Yeah,
it
they
kind of,
probably could have left that out because it
yeah,
didn't
because I felt
fit
like that
the
kind of
story.
taints the perception of like the viewer of the Joe character. Like she's
Right.
dead now, so like whatever he
She
can
can't defend herself.
like so, and it kind of, but the way it like is, showed to us as the viewer,
Mhm.
it makes us think, well, so she was a whore or something like that.
Well,
You were cheating on him.
the scene where he's talking to the housekeeper, he asks her, he says, Did was Joe ever here with anybody? And she looks at him kind of funny and she's like, What do you mean? He said,
Hmm.
Did she ever come here with someone? Was she here with someone?
Right.
And she says, No, sir. She was, she
Yeah,
never did
I
that.
thought that was an odd
It
decision to
was very
include
strange.
that. But back to what I was saying though was like, we don't want to forget that Joe's presence, her spirit within is throughout this whole thing. And like I said, Mike is struggling because of that loss of her, but at the same time, he's kind of developing this relationship or like some kind of chemistry between him and the
Mhm.
Maddie character.
Yeah.
And just went and like because he's still having like nightmares and visions and stuff, but and like so there's at one point he has this dream or nightmare where he is like on a dock or something, and
Mm,
he's laying there with Joe, but then like she turns into Maddie,
yeah.
and then like beyond that, after that happens, they're like in this house with one another in that cabin or wherever the little summer home,
Mhm.
and they start to kiss, and within that moment, someone blows Maddie's brains out,
Yeah.
like through
And I was like, I had to go back and see that again because I was like, not because I like seeing that happen, but I was like, whoa, wait a minute, what happened to her?
Yeah, it's because it takes you by surprise. It really does, that scene.
And so I love I love the fact that Joe, even though her character in human form
Mhm.
does not last very long in the movie, she's in maybe a couple of scenes. But then her spirit, her ghost is peppered throughout the film,
Yeah,
and she keeps giving Mike hints to where to find the blues singer's body and her child's body because they're
yeah.
buried in a shallow grave, shall we say? And she's hinting where they can be found. And then there's the act of she keeps saying, how does she say it? Something about lies.
I can't remember.
Something about lies and secrets or something like that.
Mhm.
But he's thinking of lie like LIE, and then it comes to him that it's lie is in LYE, like lie that you would put on something.
Right.
So he ends up using a bag of lye and puts it on the corpse of the blues singer and her daughter. And it helps. I don't know if it helps their spirits be at rest or what exactly it does, but the lie does something to finalize stuff.
And I can't remember the chain of events but was that before or after he gets his ass whipped by that tree?
I think that's after he gets his ass whipped by the tree.
Because like that's another like very interesting. Like he's because he's there, he's like down on his knees and he's breaking down. He's trying to apologize to Sarah
Yeah, he
for
says, "I'm sorry."
what was happened to her, and he's trying to get her to like because she's all because even though she's like a spirit and she's within that tree, that's interesting because it's almost like she's this force of nature, like Mother Nature. Because there is a point when there's he's driving down the road after that, and there's like the two guys in the truck that are like they're side by side, and then a lightning bolt strikes this sign and it comes down, and the truck with the other two men
Right,
crash into it, and the truck explodes. But
right.
it like I said, it's almost like Sarah is like because her spirit is within this tree that beats Pierce
Mhm.
Brosnan's ass. No joke. And
No, it
that's what
really does.
happens.
It really
That's
does.
what happens. It's like 'cause you just see the branches like coming back and slapping him around and
No,
stuff.
it's not like this ghost woman said, "I'm going to whip your ass." She literally
It's
does.
almost like because whenever I thought about that, I was thinking of I don't know if you've ever seen the Harry Potter films, but there's a tree within the Potter films, the books called the Whomping Willow, and it
Uh-huh.
just like anybody that gets near it, it just like beats them to death.
Gosh. Maybe I need to, read the books or watch the movies at least.
I
People
love
have
Harry
told
Potter.
me.
I'm not gonna lie. I know some people's not big on them, but like me and Candace, Noah, we love them. That's something we've seen the Harry Potter films
I
several.
would rather get immersed in the Harry Potter stuff than Twilight or a more adult oriented 50 Shades of Grey. I read 50 Shades of Grey and had no interest in going any further in that
Yeah,
series.
that's something I don't think I could get into, Dana.
I doubt it. I highly doubt it. Steve actually, we watched the movie too, and I'm like, I never need to see this thing again. This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my
That's
life.
awesome to hear, Blissful. So,
Yep.
who's your favorite character, Blissful? I don't mean to get off
Oh
track
no,
here,
no, no.
Dana, but I
I'm
just
gonna step away and let the dog in while
oh
y'all
okay.
talk about Harry Potter.
Yeah, Blissful. We're huge Harry Potter fans. My favorite character out of the whole series is probably Neville Longbottom. And oh, no, I'll get it in just a little bit. Oh, okay, okay, yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Candace is here. Just stick it right here. Well, I'll get it in just a second, okay?
Hi guys. Hi Candace.
But yeah, Blissful. As far as like the female characters, Luna is also my favorite too, and like she's probably in my like top 5 overall characters. But yeah, that's really cool. I always get excited when I meet another Harry Potter fan. So sorry about that, Dana.
Oh no, that's fine. I love that we get off on other topics because it just makes things more interesting that way. Um, so Chris, is there anything else you want to bring up about Bag of Bones before we give a rating on it?
Well, like I said, we were talking about. I did want to mention one other thing. It's basically at the end of the film, and we kind of referenced it a little bit earlier when we were talking about the assistant
Oh yeah,
of Max, and because he gets, Mike gets knocked out by her when they're at the lake, and he goes flying in the lake. She's throwing stones at him, but like then later in the film, like it was basically at the end of the film, when Mike goes back to his home and he takes Kyra with him, and because he ends up adopting her, I'm pretty sure.
yeah,
But like he comes into the bathroom where Kyra is, and like the door is kind of like pushed against the wall, and she's acting scared, and he thinks that she's scared of I guess Joe's ghost or something, and she's like, no, not her, and then the door moves open, and it's the assistant comes out, and she's got a pair of scissors,
yeah,
and so then there's like this battle between her and, and Pierce Brosnan again, where Pierce Brosnan basically he just looked like a weakling. I'm sorry, he looked like a weakling. That's his whole film because if
yeah.
he's fighting like a 70-year-old woman or something, she's
He's getting
like,
beat up by women
she's,
all the
yeah,
time in this
she's
movie.
overpowering him with and but he finally wins his first battle in this film against all between these ghosts and these crazy people. And but yeah, I mean, like I said, I like parts of this series. Like I there's not really anything about it that I hate, but I do because I think the parts that I do like is that it's kind of goofy in its own way, but that's not a bad thing. I feel like a lot of in unintentional comedy adds to stuff that makes me like it more.
Exactly. Yeah, and unintentional comedy with that dang tree.
I'm gonna step away for just a second, Dana. I gotta go in here and help Candace with something, okay?
Oh yeah, that's fine. So I guess I'll talk to you guys about whatever y'all want to talk about till Chris gets back, and then we can get back into Bag of Bones and give our rating and stuff. But here's something I'll talk about. I won't give a name of a person that got some products from me, but I did make my first sale off of the store. Um, and this uh, woman, I don't know, what age or anything. And like I said, I'm not going to mention her name unless she were to message me and say, "Hey, you mention my name." Otherwise, I won't mention names. But I don't know, I don't know if she's like a friend of one of your guys is in here, um, or she was someone that watched the streams, or um, saw stuff on social media, saw one of the commercials. But I did sell two items, a t-shirt and a candle. And so I'm very pleased. And I hope to sell more. I have to get a shirt to create her t-shirt to send to her. But if that particular person is in the streams and not, maybe they're just watching, they don't feel comfortable chatting. If you are in here or you watch this on the replay, I want to thank you for being my first sale from my online shop. And in case anybody, was thinking about taking a look at what I've got to sell, I'll put the shop website in there. Thank you, Blissful. Blissful, you say, Dana, that's awesome. Oh, you got your very first sunburn of the season. Oh, you poor thing. Um, but in case anybody's wanting to check out what I've got on the site, feel free. And if you see something that strikes your fancy, I'd be glad to fill the order for you. In fact, I'm probably going to be making that candle soon. I've got to order the actual t-shirt in her particular size so I can
All
get that.
right, I'm back, Dana. Oh, he's fine. Did you want to tell her bye? Or?
Oh, see ya.
Bye, Candace.
I'm heading back out.
All right, be careful.
Okay. What about Ghost?
He's fine. He can stay in here. Love you. Yeah. So, Dana, sorry about that. Candace was just stopping by real quick, and she's dropping me some food off. She made some pretty good stuff tonight.
She always makes good stuff. I see her pictures of.
Yeah, I'll hold one of them up here. This is actually one of my favorite foods. These are fried green tomatoes, guys.
Oh, I love those things.
I love them.
And Candace looks like she made some really good ones. Sometimes mine, the breading will fall off of them, and
they can sometimes. But I mean, it goes in and out one way, Dana, so it don't really matter.
Right. Oh man, Steve won't eat fried green tomatoes, but we all know Steve.
Why not? Why won't he?
He just says he don't like them.
Well, here's the thing, Dana. Has he ate them? Actually tried them?
Probably not. I'm gonna say not,
because you see, I always hated tomatoes. I did. I just didn't like them, and Candace just kind of basically had to not bully me into it. She was just like, "Come on," kind of like pushing me to try something new, and I'm like,
"Try it now."
I was like, "All right, fine, I'll try them." Mm-hmm. And now I'm so glad I did because they're one of my favorite foods.
Yeah,
I love fried green tomatoes.
So you were missing out all that time, Chris, and if she hadn't gotten you to eat them, you'd still be missing.
And people's taste buds, I think people's palates change over the years.
Every few years, yeah.
And you never know, Dana. Steve could come around. see the light side of things.
He don't like bacon. He doesn't like fried green
I
tomatoes.
don't get that. Like that's the number one thing about Steve I don't get is he dislikes bacon. Are we sure that Steve is from Earth?
Well, you know what's funny? Steve is from, like, he grew up in Taylor
He's
County.
from Mars.
I don't know.
No,
But,
I'm just joking around.
his mom is as Southern as they come, and my parents are as Southern as they come.
Right.
So where in the heck did Steve come from? Why has he got these weird eating habits?
Well, I mean, I'm the same way in some aspects. I think everybody is like, there's just I think everybody has something about them that they don't like as far as food goes that they don't like, and we on the outside if we actually like that we perceive that as like, well, that's strange. Why don't you like that? But it's just how they are. Like I hate mustard, and a lot of people like kind of question that about
I
me. And
hate mustard too. You and me are on the same page.
well, we're on the same page there, but not everybody will be. Like I don't know if Candace has ever told you the time she was like she pranked me with mustard.
Oh boy.
And it was like you ever seen the little pretzel sticks? They're about this big.
Mm-hmm.
So she knew that I would eat those with like nacho cheese.
Right.
And then I was sitting in the living room one day, and she brings in. She goes, "Hey," she goes, "Want a pretzel?" And she had like it looked yellow on it. It was the room was kind of dark, so I couldn't exactly tell what it was, but it looked yellow to me. And so I was thinking it's nacho cheese because she knows I eat those with nacho cheese. And she's like, "Here you go." And Candace, knowing that I hate mustard and I can't eat it, gave that to me, and I just spit it out and I in the garbage, and I said, "That is mustard, Candace." She just started busting out laughing.
I think she may have told me this story before, but it's still funny. I like hearing it.
But that's just how me and her are. We're always playing jokes on each other.
I told you about the time I tricked Steve into eating venison burgers or deer meat burgers, didn't I?
Yeah, you did, and from what I remember you telling me is that if he probably liked it, right? And
Oh,
if you hadn't told him that what it was, he probably would have ate as much as he could get. Because I'm telling you, that stuff's good.
yep. I grew up eating that stuff because my dad was a deer hunter. My dad was a turkey hunter. He would fish. I mean, I grew up eating a lot of wildlife. Now, my taste changed, and I used to eat squirrel and rabbit, and then I got where I didn't like eating squirrel and rabbit
I've
meat.
never ate either of those, but I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I'm open to maybe trying that at some point. But I think that's just a part of the Appalachian person that I am. It's in me, It's just kind of. I'm sure some people watching it maybe like live out west or somewhere up north. Like, why are these people talking about eating rabbit?
Somebody out in California is like,
It's
what is wrong with these
it's
people?
an Appalachian thing, people. You just gotta. It's. I can't explain myself. It's just a part of our
We're
culture.
country folk, guys and gals.
Yeah.
And that's what you grew up with. And now I wouldn't eat squirrel brains. My papa would eat squirrel brains. I ain't eating no squirrel brains.
Like the monkey brains and Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah. Oh Lord. No. I like seeing monkeys alive and climbing in trees and
I
stuff
remember
like
that part really bothered me when I was a kid. I was like, oh gosh, I hated that part.
Ben says he's ate goat. I've never ate goat meat that I know of.
I've always heard that pepperoni is from goat, but I don't know if that's true. If anybody like else heard that, or if you can confirm that for me, like I've always heard that since I was a kid.
I mean, you could be right. I know I have looked at the ingredients for like little packets of pepperoni that you get, and it usually gives a combination of animal, like it's pork and chicken and all that stuff mixed together. But I'm not saying there's not goat in it. It's entirely possible there could be
Right.
some goat in there. Ben, you say it was curry goat, so it just tasted like curry.
Speaking of,
Curry's good though.
yeah, speaking of curry, I remember we went to Buffalo Wild Wings once, and I got some of the boneless wings, and you can get like the different sauces on the wings. I got the Thai curry, and it did not agree with me. It was
Uh-oh.
good, but I mean, like, it
But
really
later,
messed with my stomach, yeah, a lot,
yeah.
and I was having some complications with that. So,
Ooh, that's not good. That's never good.
but yeah, that stuff is pretty spicy. I mean, I can handle spice to a degree, but some stuff is just a little bit too much for me. I don't know if you ever watched that show called Hot Ones, Dana, where like the guy like interviews different celebrities, and they're like
Oh, I think I know what
eating
you're
the hot
talking
wings
about.
with the sauces get hotter and hotter as
Yeah.
it goes on. And Candace bought a bag of these chicken wings. They were Hot Ones chicken wings from Walmart that came with like 3 different sauces to try. And one was like the classic hot sauce, which wasn't a big deal. I can't remember what the medium one was called, but then the last one, the hottest one that came with, was called Apollo.
Uh,
And I'm there may be hotter sauces out there, but that was the hottest thing I've ever ate in my life, and I'll never ever do it again
uh,
because that almost killed me.
well, me and Steve have been partaking of a lot of ramen. Like I don't know how many of y'all have seen these different restaurants that make ramen bowls. And it's not just ramen noodles. It does have the noodles, but you'll have meat in it. You'll have a boiled egg, at least one boiled egg in there, soft boiled egg. Um, and, you have miso. You can have miso soup in it. Some people fix different kinds of broth or soup to put in it, but there are some places that they have one of the ramens is it's not just called spicy, it's called hell. And I ain't eating something called hell. I'm sorry, because I've seen people eat some of that stuff that they call the hell.
This is not just any kind of hot sauce. This is hell.
Yeah. You think you've had spicy not till you've tried hell, burn your insides out.
Oh, I forgot to mention I got chicken and dumplings here too that she brought me.
Ooh, I love chicken and
I'm
dumplings.
telling you, and you're going to have to get Steve's to get him to bring you the Hazard one of these days, and Candace will make you a meal you'll never
I'd probably
forget.
never want to leave. I'm just going to live with Candace and Chris, so Candace will fix me meals like this all the time.
And Steve be like, "Dang, you gonna leave me here with all these dogs?" They just be yelling 24/7.
Ben says we have several ramen restaurants here in Athens. Some of them will make the top of your head sweat. Yeah, well, I've seen Steve, like, we went to one of these places and let's see. Well, here, I'll preface this by saying Steve got some ramen, like, styrofoam bowls where you mix it up yourself. You put the sauce and the stuff in there. And I forgot where he got those now. And maybe he got them from Costco or Amazon or something. But when they came in, Steve tried them first. And it told him to put the whole packet of sauce on there. And I thought he was absolutely going to die because he said, "Oh my God, Dana, I can't even finish this." His head was sweating. You know how somebody's eyes look when they've ate something really hot?
Yeah,
Just all
I
like
know
they
exactly what you're talking
were.
about. Because that's how I was when I ate that Apollo hot sauce with those wings, and like it wasn't just my face, my whole body. I could feel my whole body sweating, and like it was like it almost felt like my throat was closing up. from it.
Oh, that's
And
not
like I
good
said,
at
this was horrible. This was like the worst like food experience I've ever had.
all.
And I said, anybody that can sit and like eat that stuff regularly, you know what? More power to them. If they can handle it, if their bodies can process that normally, great. But that ain't me.
They have contests, actually. I think it's usually, overseas and stuff, Hong Kong, Tokyo, places like that, where it's like a hot dog eating contest or
Right.
something, that they set these real spicy bowls of ramen in front of people, this group of people, and whoever can eat the most of their spicy bowl of ramen will win.
I tell you, I'm really impressed with some of those competitive eaters like that. Like, because I competed in a hot dog eating contest before, and it was like you can, eat as many as you could within 10 minutes. And it's not as easy as it looks, folks.
Mm, I
It's
wouldn't think
not.
it would be.
It's really not. If it's not something you've done regularly, like a lot of those guys do that those competitive eaters do that regularly, like they do a lot of training and stuff for it.
Mhm.
If you're like me and not trained a day in your life or something like that, and you're just like, I'm gonna go in and try this, like, no big deal. I could probably eat about 10 in 10 minutes. No, no. It's not that easy, because I'll tell you, because you when you get up there and you do it, like you're worried about like if how many you're going to eat,
Yeah.
and you're going to worry about all the people that you're competing against, and like you feel like you're rushing yourself to like, well, and you're kind of watching the other like competitors like well, how many have they done now? Like,
Yeah.
I think I got like 3.5 in within 10 minutes, because like I was just I think I had the wrong strategy, because I think I was just trying to like eat them way too fast and
I
and
think
I
you
told
gotta
myself,
pace yourself, don't
yeah,
you?
I told myself afterwards, I was like, maybe if I would have like just kind of took my time and relaxed, I
Mhm.
could have maybe like got them down easier, and I could have ate more. But I don't know. Like I said, I know that's a little off topic and everything, but
Okay.
that's yeah, it's not easy. So, but it's fun though. Like I had fun doing it, and like Noah was like there, like cheering me on and stuff. He's like, "That's my dad." I'm like, and he goes afterwards. He's like, "Dad, I want to do this," and I'm like, "Well, let's wait till you're older, son, because it's very dangerous for you to do something like that right now."
Yeah. I know what would happen to me if I tried to do something like that. I'd be like Lord ass Hogan and Stand By Me,
Oh my gosh!
Marty's Town. I'd
When
be
he
projectile vomiting.
what was that he drank all of? It's some kind of
I think it was
oil,
castor oil and like
castor
a
oil.
raw
Well, yeah.
egg and yeah.
I like that part. That's a gross part of Stand By Me.
Batman says dunking in water is some of their secret. Like, did they get in
Yeah, I
cold
learned
water?
that too. There was a guy actually up there that was competing with was doing that, but like I don't like
Did they dip the hot dogs in some cold water or
well,
something?
they gave us cups of water too, like, but there was one guy up there, he was like dipping his whole like hot dog in that cup of water, and that seemed just really gross to me. I was like,
Yeah, it sounds
I can't do that. Eating a soggy hot dog. I mean,
gross. Ugh.
I ain't cut out for that game, folks.
No, I don't think I am either. I don't think I'd even want to attempt it. But I get this has been a fun conversation, but I don't want to forget to rate this
Oh
film.
yeah, yeah, we haven't done it yet.
So while Chris is, I want him to be able to take a few bites of his food there. I'll go ahead and give my rating for this. Hold on a sec. And I think I'm going to end up giving all these movies tonight the same rating because envision a half there, folks, because I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 5 Deadites as well, just because I think it was a really well put together film. I enjoyed it. I definitely want to go back and watch it again because I'm sure there's some twists and turns in there that I may have missed a layer or two because there's a lot of layers in this movie.
In
And
our imagination, TJ. He says, where are the halves? In our imagination. You know, like how SpongeBob says, imagination.
I thought maybe you had left, TJ. Um, Batman says the water makes the bread softer to eat and swallow. So,
Yeah, I'm sure it does. It just seems gross to me. I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't stomach it.
Mayor, I don't think you're alone. I mean, I like hot dogs, but they've got to be fixed a certain way.
But Dana, as far as like my ranking goes on this, I'm in agreement with you. Almost. I mean, I would probably just do mine at a solid 3.
A solid 3. Okay, so no halves on Chris's. Don't imagine any halves there. So yeah, we both got kind of gave it similar ratings. Is there anything else you want to bring up about it before we move on to the last one?
Well, TJ said, "Hey, you haven't seen these movies, so I stayed away." Well, just because you're back, TJ, we're going to go back over these movies once again.
We're gonna tell all the secrets.
No, but no, I mean, that's pretty much it for me as far as Bag of Bones. I mean, it's like I said, it's definitely got me interested in checking it out again after kind of doing a refresher, and some of the stuff it was even hard when I was doing the refresher. I was like, oh, I don't really remember that. And because it came out like 2012, and I watched it when it came out, and I think that was the only time I ever watched it.
Yeah, it had been a while since I watched it too. It's just I don't know. Some of them I go back to more often. Yeah, TJ saying draw a half on a piece of paper.
Yeah, that's what I was laughing at. Yeah, let's do that.
I'll make a very crude dead-eyed ash and all,
Just like get one of those half silver dollars. It's got Johnny Penny on it. Like just hold that up to the screen.
I promise I'm gonna get my button gear, but folks, I've been working on commercials for the shop. I've been putting items on the shop, and I'm doing a dang Stephen's Kingdom here for y'all tonight.
Yeah, come on. Cut her a break, guys. I mean, she's going all out on this stuff, man. She's multitasking for y'all.
Plus, I've got a full-time job on top of that.
yeah, on top of that. You can't
keeping up with the household, keeping
got
Steve
5 dogs got to deal with. She's got to deal with Steve. I mean,
can y'all imagine having to deal with Steve? Of course, he has to deal with me too. Y'all wouldn't want to live with me either. So I guess that brings us to the last movie of the night, which is Mercy, which I did not realize until I was looking into it that this is an extension, a more fully formed version of the Grandma story from Stephen King's Skeleton Crew. So I don't know how many of y'all have read that short story collection, but I remember the Grandma story vividly. Grandma was also adapted in a very short form. The Twilight Zone from the 80s had a version of that story, which was very, very creepy. Again, I don't know how many of y'all have seen that. But I enjoyed Mercy as like, it's only an hour and 18 minutes, so it's not like it's an hour and 30 minutes or anything like that. But
was it a feature film or was it a TV film? Or was it like a straight to DVD type film?
Let me look that up because it's going to bother me if I don't know.
Batman said, "For a minute, Crater, I thought you wiped your mouth with $1." Yeah, I just got dollars laying around, just like, I'll just use it to wipe my mouth. I'll use one to wipe my ass. I wish I had that kind of money to do something like that, Batman.
This was released straight to video by
Okay.
Universal Pictures on October
That's
7th.
why I kind of figured that, because I don't remember it being released. I don't remember that name being released in theaters or anything, and I also don't remember it being in kind of like TV movie or anything. So yeah, but there's a lot of stuff like that just gets released straight to DVD and video. Unfortunately, like Trick or Treat was one,
Yeah.
which I felt like I still feel like that deserved a like a theater release, but instead, Trick or Treat was straight to video.
Yeah. So it's basically a supernatural horror film. It says it's loosely based on the 1984 short story Grandma by Stephen King. It was produced by Jason Blum for his Blumhouse Productions banner and Mick G.
What year did you say this came out?
2014.
So was that an early Blumhouse film?
Evidently so. It appears to be. And guess who is on that? Chandler Riggs is on this, who you will remember from
Carl from Walking Dead.
Yep. And I like him a lot better playing George Bruckner in this than I did his character
You
in
know
The
what's
Walking Dead.
crazy, Dana, about Chandler Riggs? Like, when when Walking Dead first came out, like this is still within season 1. He was probably what do you say, 10, 11 years old or something like that at the time.
Mm.
He was pretty young, regardless of what his age was. And I remember at the time during the first season, this was before like his character Carl in Walking Dead had become a big deal or anything on the show. But I was a fan of the first few seasons of Walking Dead, and I remember finding he had a Facebook page or something at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And his mom was helping him run that, and then he had his own eBay store, where he was selling. They had like promo photos from season 1, and he would sign them. And I remember getting 2 autographs from him through his eBay store for $15 total.
Oh my gosh!
And within the next 2 years, this kid, had become a bigger character on the show, and was charging $50-$60 at conventions.
We saw these little teenage girls standing in line waiting to meet him.
That's whenever I think of Chandler Reeves, I just think it's so funny because before he became a really big deal and was becoming a bigger character on that show, he had his mom was helping him run an eBay store where he was selling 2 autographs for $15, and
so $7.50 a piece on those autographs.
Yeah, I have them somewhere around here still, I believe.
Better hang on to those for a while.
Yeah, those are some keepers. I don't really care about Walking Dead anymore. I know
you might be able to sell them for more money now, though.
That was something that, like I said, I was really into the first 2 or 3 seasons, especially the Frank Darabont stuff. When Frank Darabont left the show, or they fired him, whatever they did, I was like, this show isn't as great as it was.
No, it started out really, really good, and then I'd say about the 3rd season was where it started falling off the map, and I kind of
and plus they were freaking killing off all the characters that I liked the best, Dale and Herschel, and
when they killed Herschel off, I was done.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I didn't mind the Carl character, Chandler Riggs's character in the beginning, because he was just a kid.
Yeah.
But when he got to the whiny, rebellious teenager stage, that's when I just wanted to take the kid and strangle him.
And this is something I typically hate, is when people are comparing movies and books.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people say, well, the book is better. And I'm like, and that always makes me cringe when people say that stuff, because, and they're always almost 100% of the time, they're, somebody that's like that will put the book over the film. Well, I guess that kind of makes me a hypocrite because the Walking Dead comic is better than the show, 100%. But that's just from my perspective, as because I'm a comic book fan and like I
Right.
love comics. I always have. But that's one of my favorite comics is a Joe Hill comic called Lock and Key, which they turned that into a series on Netflix. But yeah, sorry, Dane, I'm getting off track.
Oh, no, that's fine. I love hearing you talk about different things. Now, I usually, but this is my opinion only, I usually will say that 9 times out of 10, for me personally, the book is better than the movie. However, Forrest Gump was the exception to the rule for me because I watched the movie first. Tom Hanks was fantastic as Forrest Gump. Couldn't imagine anybody else playing that character. That movie was so well made. So I decided I was going to read the book. And the book was just awful. The Forrest Gump character was not endearing and lovable the way Tom Hanks created him. He was a man who talked about playing with himself all the time, cussed all the time,
Mhm.
and he had a mental disability. But I was like, what was the purpose of having all this other stuff in there?
Yeah.
You know,
And speaking of Forrest Gump, I did see something earlier on some kind of group I'm in on Facebook where someone posed the question, um, who is like the best movie villain? And
mhm.
someone said Jenny from Forrest Gump, and I kind of understand that because like
Yeah, you
when
could,
it
you
comes
could.
to people that were, she wasn't necessarily evil, but she was
Mhm,
just doing a lot of like discourteous things, especially against Forrest, and
mhm,
it really made me hate that character. And then like she just and even after her death, if you sorry if you've never seen Forrest Gump, but even after Jenny's death, I'm like I still hate that bitch because like she waited all this time until she got AIDS to get back with Forrest, be like, hey, take care of me, I'm dying. Fuck
uh-huh.
you, bitch.
Now I could see it that way, but I could also see that Jenny was a very damaged character.
Well,
She
I mean, yeah, there's that, but
There were
still, like,
hints that she was both physically and sexually abused by her father, and
that's
I'm not
true.
saying she should have been bitchy to
But yeah,
Forrest.
that didn't. But just because that happened, that doesn't give her any kind of like excuse. She's got to take some kind of accountability for all of her actions still as she becomes an
Mhm.
adult. And
Maybe they should have pumped that up a little bit more because there is a scene where she's talking to Forrest when he finally, gets from the bus stop to her apartment, and
mhm.
she she tries. I just think Jenny's not good at articulating sorry. And she says, I was messed up for a long time. And she said, I want to tell you, I'm sorry for anything that I did to you.
Yeah, and
But
I mean,
that doesn't make up for the anguish she put in.
yeah, you can perceive that in a lot of ways. For me, maybe it's just because I'm biased and I just really hated her as a character. But I just felt like that was just her being manipulative of Forrest, especially because she was like taking advantage of his kind of like his mindset and everything too. Because he was, as he says in the movie, he's like, "I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is."
Mhm.
I love Forrest Gump, I really
I
do.
I do too, and I guess I wanted so much to see the love between Forrest and Jenny.
Yeah,
Um,
you wanted
with
to see him happy, and even though he does become happy because he has his son now. He may not have her anymore because she passed away, but like he has something to hold on to. Definitely.
Mhm. TJ brings up a good point. He said Forrest loved Jenny, so I'm betting he would have taken care of her
He
regardless.
did. That was the thing. That was where they differed because he loved her from the very beginning,
Mm.
but she didn't feel so much the same for him until close to the end.
The most angry I got with Jenny was, yeah, I'm going to read that in a second.
Yeah, Mayor, that's a good one.
The most angry I got with Jenny during the whole entire film was when she came to Forrest, and this was after Forrest's mother had died.
Yeah,
And she came to him and they made love, and then she left him.
yeah,
And it's just so.
yeah. I hated her for that so bad
I mean,
too.
that was the most angry I got with her because she gets up, she leaves with really without any thought of how Forrest is going to feel when he gets up and finds her gone. And she goes out to the taxi and he says, "Where you want to go?" "Anywhere. I don't care." And I just don't like that attitude she has.
Yeah, and I don't know how we got off talking about Forrest Gump, but I love it. I love that we're talking about because that's a film that I could talk about really all day because
Oh, I could
there's so many layers to that film,
too.
and it's one of the best. It's one of the greatest films of all time. It has to be. I mean, it's amazing.
My opinion, it is. But I got to read what Mayer's put in here because that's a great line for the movie. "I'm sorry for breaking up your Black Panther party." I can't say it like Tom Hanks, but
I will say before we go back into what the film you were talking about, Mercy, but I just wanted to mention one last thing about Forrest Gump, and it's my favorite part in the whole movie, and it's when he's a kid still at the time, and it's like the principal of the school or something from like one school board comes to a house and like and then he has sex with Forrest's mom. Let's just say what it is. And then he cut and like this is my favorite part. He comes out there and he says, "Boy, your mama sure cares about your education." And he just sits there and he goes, "What are you, stupid or something?" And he starts going, "Hee hee."
the whole theater broke up laughing.
Oh man, that's my favorite part in the entire movie, and it's just because it's so funny. And I remember when we watched as a kid, like my dad would rewind the tape over and over just to watch that part.
One of my favorite lines too is during the New Year's Eve celebration between him and Lieutenant Dan, and he says he looks at Lieutenant Dan looks at Forrest and he says, "Have you found Jesus yet, Gump?" He says, "I didn't know I was supposed to be looking for him."
I mean, everything about that movie is great. There's really like no flaws about that I can think of. I mean, even though I hate Jenny's character in it, she's a part of it. That's a big part of that story of why that makes that movie great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of great scenes. And if you had never seen Forrest Gump, go out and find
God,
a
you ain't seen
couple.
Forrest Gump. Who the hell are you?
Where you been under a rock for the what they come
Where
out
have you
in
been?
94 or 96 or something like that? Was it 94 or 96, Chris?
I'm not sure about that. It's somewhere around there. I between 94 and 96. I don't remember.
That's right, Batman. I'm sorry, Lieutenant Dan. Her mouth tasted like cigarettes.
I forgot about that.
Oh man. Okay, so I'm gonna get to the to my rating for Mercy real quick. So basically, you have the story of George, played by Chandler Riggs, and his family. He has a really close relationship with his grandma, but there's grandma's got a lot of secrets. Evidently, grandma wanted to have lots of children, and she kept miscarrying. And there's a scene, a flashback, where the doctor tells her husband, I'm sorry, but she's never going to be able to give birth to a child. So grandma gets involved in some pretty shady stuff in order to have babies. So, because we know she had to have had some babies because George's mother was a product of, a baby that came from his grandma. And then he wouldn't have been born if his mom hadn't been born. So, grandma evidently was making a deal with the devil. And before that, she was, as they described her, the most religious woman they knew, or the most Christian woman they knew. And that was before, she miscarried over and over and over again, and she was desperate to have children. And so, because of this, grandma starts to have some issues. She's serving the family some Sunday dinner or something. She just collapses and starts having a seizure. Then she starts trying to attack everybody in the family with scissors. So it's almost like she's going in and out of dementia, where she doesn't really know the family, and she tries to stab George at one point, and he says, "Grandma, Grandma, it's George," and she stops. But basically, it's the family dealing with the fallout of grandma wanting so much to have children that she went over to the dark side, basically made a deal with the devil, was dealing with some dark subjects that the whole family was really not prepared for.
And I don't mean to cut you off, Dana, but I just want to say that scissors are always an interesting choice of weapon in films. Like, we just got done talking about Bag of Bones, and like this Max's assistant.
Stephen King's had scissors a lot.
Yeah, and yeah, it's you. Well, I'm trying. For some reason, I was thinking like, did Wendy ever pick up a pair of scissors, or she just had the knife? That's all she had.
I think she just had the knife. But Frank Dodd in The Dead Zone, the cop that was killing the women, he kills himself.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right
Very
about
graphic
that.
Scene. I'll never forget that scene of like the aftermath. You see him getting ready to put his head down on those scissors, and then it cuts, and then Johnny and the sheriff bust into the bathroom, and he's back in the bathtub twitching with those scissors still.
And in Johnny's vision too, like, because that's what he used on the girl at the gazebo too, right? Was those scissors?
I believe so. Yeah. That whole scene there with, I know I'm talking about a totally different movie, but when he sees that vision, when Johnny sees the vision, and he's coming up to Alma, and he wants her to come up on the gazebo with him, and he says, "You like that, Alma?" He said, "That word gazebo," and he says that right before he kills her, and then he says, "Take a look at this," and he opens up his jacket, and he's got those scissors in it, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And he takes them out and kills her.
Yep.
Another very graphic scene as well.
Yeah, I guess that's just something that Stephen King liked to use a lot of, was because like I said, it's an interesting weapon to choose because it's just like a regular household item that lays around,
Mm-hmm.
But they're also very dangerous at the same time.
Yeah, I was babysitting these two kids, a brother and a sister, and the brother, he had some issues when he was a kid, and he grabbed scissors one time and started chasing his little sister around with it, and I said, "Stop." I said, "Give me those scissors," and he handed them over. I said, "Don't ever do that again."
Yes. Sometimes little kids can get crazy with stuff like that, and that reminds me, like, I was at a friend's house years ago, It was my friend Derek and his girlfriend were there, which it was actually it was her apartment or whatever. But like her mom was there, like in the kitchen, like sitting with one of her friends, and they were like talking, and her mom's friend's little boy was there, like running around. And I remember like me and my friends were sitting in the living room, like watching TV, and then all of a sudden I just feel something stab in my back.
Oh my gosh.
And this little kid had an ink pen stabbing me in the back. And I had to like stop him because he wasn't nobody doing anything. His mom was like sitting over there, and I like grabbed him, and the mom got mad at me for grabbing him, and I'm like, listen, he's stabbing me in the back.
He's stabbing you.
I have to do something.
What do I have to do? Bleed out in front of you? What in the world?
Yeah, it's kids are crazy sometimes, man. But like but I'm not gonna be one to judge. But a lot of that has to do with their home life sometimes.
Thankfully, my brother was only a biter. I was a biter too. I've told stories about biting my cousins.
Well, I think all kids do that.
But my brother, one time we were over at somebody's house. I think, does anybody remember Tupperware parties? My mom was at a Tupperware party at somebody else's house, and all us kids were playing while our moms were, participating in the Tupperware party. And my brother got mad at me for some reason. I don't know what, but he climbed up on my back and bit my back and left the biggest welt on my back.
Jeez.
Mom got all over him for doing that.
And I don't remember Tupperware parties, but I'm aware of them. Like I don't nobody like in my area that I knew of had them when I was young or anything. But whenever I think of like Tupperware parties, though, I always think of the first episode of Erie, Indiana. Do you know the one I'm talking about? Because Joe Dante is the one that directed the first couple of episodes of Erie, Indiana, and that first one is like, so you can tell like there's a mom and she's got like the two twin boys.
Mm-hmm.
And they they look like they're out of the 50s or something. Because Erie, Indiana takes place is set in the 90s.
Yeah.
But like their attire and everything, they look like the old like kind of like the 50s like TV shows you would see, like Leave It to Beaver and stuff like that.
Right.
And that's how they were. And so the mom was like hosting all these Tupperware parties called Foreverware, I think it's called. And she was like, and basically like they were these big, huge Tupperware bowls, but you could get in them, like, and lay in them, and they would like keep you young. And that's what it was like. Though they were supposed to be like young, because they were from the 50s, but they still looked young because of those like big Tupperware like caskets or whatever you want to call them.
That's kind of creepy, though.
Oh man, Erie, Indiana was like that all the way through. It was very.
There was always something very unsettling in the episodes. I gotta put this one up here. That Mayor says, "Do they still even have Tupperware parties? If they do, Forrest would break up their Tupperware party."
Yeah, sorry about ruining your Tupperware party.
Oh man. But so I'll go ahead and give my rating on this one real quick because I don't think I've done that. So again, you're gonna have to envision a half because I gave all three of these movies tonight a 3.5 out of 5 deadites. And I thought this one was good, and I'd like to really go back and watch it again and be able to focus more on it because mainly I was trying to get the gist of it tonight, so that I could, talk about it, not talk like I'm talking out of my butt while I'm talking about it. So I would recommend it if you haven't seen it. I couldn't find it anywhere for free. I had to end up renting it for about $4, $3.99, $4.
Dana, I could have helped you out with that. I have my ways of finding these movies.
Well, I asked my dear husband, and he wasn't able to to find it. But I'll keep you in mind next
Yeah.
time, Chris. But it didn't hurt. I spend $4 here and there.
Well,
That's not break me, but
it might have been that case, like how me and Candace that time, like we found like a copy of it, but like it kept like buffering on us and we wasn't able to watch it, which was multiplicity. So Candace
try.
said, "Screw it," and she just rented it from YouTube,
Yeah,
so we could. That's when we did that watch along.
exactly. Mayor, I didn't think about it, but you said, Dana, are you Ace Ventura talking out of your butt? LOL. Well, no, I'm not Ace Ventura, but that's just the term I use sometimes, or talking out of the side of my mouth, or, you know, I also like to use the one. I don't know how many other people use this, but I'll say I told somebody something and they looked at me like I put my clothes on sideways. I say that a lot too.
Yeah,
I
there's
don't know if
those
anybody
little
else.
euphemisms like that. I use a lot of those too. But speaking of that, Mayor, the Ace Ventura talking of his butt thing, like so. I learned this not too long ago, like that Jim Carrey came up with that bit while he was doing In Living Color, and he brought it to Keenan Ivory Wayans as an idea, and apparently Keenan Ivory Wayans hated that, like, and
Huh.
which is so funny because
That's odd
that
that they would like that.
that ended up becoming like one of the things like the Ace Ventura character was known for. So,
Yeah, I mean, like, and I know it's middle school humor, it's grade school humor. I understand that, but it's still funny. It might not be funny if you saw it like 1,000 times in a row, but
right.
but just watching it within the context of the movie, I don't think
I'll
it's
be right back, Dana.
okay. Um, while Chris is gone, I found my Robert England list of films. So, in case those of you that are in here did not see what films I'll be covering tomorrow night, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I'll be covering Python from 2000, Wish You Were Dead from 2001, and Cold Sweat from 2002. And then the week after that, we'll be getting into Freddy versus Jason territory, but not this week. But next week, we should be getting into Freddy versus Jason territory. So if anybody wants to join me and talk about any of those films, or even if you just want to be on there.
I saw today while I was looking around on eBay while I was at work, and I was looking up like some different like graded cards and stuff like that. And one of them popped up of Robert Englund's character Willie from V.
Oh, cool.
And it was a graded copy of it, like like in the hard slabs and stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen those, like
Yeah.
when they grade cards, but like yeah, it looked really cool. And I didn't even know that they had V cards.
I didn't either.
But it was a really good shot of like it was like a promo like photo of Robert Englund and the Willie character, and I was like, I bet Dana would appreciate that.
Was it expensive?
I want to say it was around like maybe $50 or $60 because those graded cards can go for a lot sometimes when they're graded.
TJ, you say 500 films to go. I don't think there's going to be that many, but there's a few more to cover. And what I'm most proud of is the fact that I've been able to find most of them to watch, with the exception of like, I found this dang movie, but I could not find Robert Englund in it to save my life. So I don't know what was wrong with the film. It was what was the name of that movie? See, I've even forgotten the name of the movie now. I can't remember.
Was it
But
one you already covered?
it was one I covered early on.
Oh, okay.
Well, let me look at my.
Um, But I was going to mention too, like I went to the flea market yesterday here in Hazard and set up, and it's the first time I've been there in a while. And after I got done outside, because I set up on the outside under the shelters and stuff,
Uh-huh.
because it's just like $5 to set up, sell something outside there. And so I went in to like the first inside building at the flea market, and they have a new little vendor there that they have half of their booth is horror related stuff,
Uh-huh.
and the other half is sports. And I think those guys were called Bottom of the Ninth Collectibles.
Huh.
But they had some. I stood and talked with those guys for probably at least an hour, and they had some really neat stuff. Um, I got some stuff laying here if you don't mind me like showing it
Oh,
off.
yeah. But I did remember the movie, The Courage and the Passion from 1960.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was. Yeah,
Um,
go ahead,
but
Chris.
yeah, I did pick up some stuff while I was there yesterday at the flea market. And I only spent a total of $8 for all of this stuff. Um, but I got this Jaws
Oh,
Hot Wheels.
cool.
It's of the
It's Sheriff
75
Brody.
Blazer Custom. Yeah, Sheriff Brody's little Jeep or
Mhm.
truck, whatever you want to call it. But for $3, I couldn't pass that up. I didn't even know I knew that they made like Hot Wheels, different cars for different movies and stuff, but I had never seen a Jaws one. I actually have a Christine one in my room, and they're just kind of the same deal. And I got I got these 4 movies I got here. I got for $5 total. And there's a few horror ones in here, but I'll show. I got High School High with John Lovitz. I don't. Have you ever seen that movie, Dana?
I think I have, but it's been a long time.
That's my as far as John Lovitz. So that's my favorite like movie with him, and I used to watch that a lot when I was younger. Um, Now, and I got all these from the same lady, and I got Killjoy from Full Moon.
Oh, speaking of clown horror,
Yeah,
there.
and I got Killjoy 3. I was kind of disappointed she didn't have the second one, so
Mhm.
maybe she might. She says she's like there every week now, and she said she had more movies to bring out, so maybe she might eventually bring out Killjoy 2. But the last one I got from her, and I liked the cover of it. I read the back of it; it sounded interesting, and it's from one of these Ghost House Underground DVDs. It's called Last House in the Woods. I've never seen it. I don't know anything about it, but I mean,
Doesn't Sam Raimi have something to do with that company?
uh, maybe I don't. I'm not sure. I don't see his name anywhere on here, but he could. I mean, like I said, I wasn't familiar with this. There's like the director of this is Gabriel Albanese or something like that.
Mhm.
And it looks like a lot of these names of people involved with this are Italian based. But I may give that a watch soon. I'll let y'all know what I think about it. But I mean, she was just running a deal where like you buy 4 movies for $5, and that was like I had to pick a fourth one. I couldn't. There wasn't a whole lot in there I really cared about.
Mhm.
So I was like, well, I'll get that one. See what it's like. But yeah, that was my adventure at the flea
I
market
think getting
yesterday.
all that for $8 is great.
Yeah, yeah, I thought it was a great deal. I
Under
mean,
$10, and you got quite a bit of stuff there.
yeah, I wasn't even really expecting to buy anything yesterday because I was just going there to try to sell some of my stuff and make some extra money. But then, but that's what happens is what happens. Like you just start looking around and you find stuff. It's the same way if you're at a convention. Like you have like plans of like what you're going to get and who
Yeah.
you're going to meet when you go to a convention. But when you get there, the whole strategy changes. At least for me, it does. Like I'll like have it all mapped out. I'll write down on paper. I'm like, well, I'm gonna see what this certain vendor has and see if I
Yeah.
might get a few things from them. And I know I'm gonna meet all this certain amount of people. But then, like, you get there and you start seeing all kinds of cool stuff you didn't expect to be there, and you're like, oh, well, I got to spend money on that. I got to spend money on that.
Well, speaking of conventions, the Horror Hound that's coming up in September, I noticed they put a few new people on there as guests, and one of them was Peter Cowper, who
Yeah.
played the miner in My Bloody
Have
Valentine.
you never met him before?
No, I've never met him.
Oh, he's so nice, man. You'll love him. Which I'll probably meet him again. But yeah, I met him years ago at a Horror Hound. I think it was like 2011 or 12, something like that. But yeah, I had my My Bloody Valentine Laserdisc signed by him back then years ago. But that was the last one I had went to that he was at. So this will be the first time in several years I've actually seen him. But yeah,
I had the minor action figure. I guess I could have him sign that.
Well, you got all kinds of My Bloody Valentine stuff.
Oh, now. I know. Probably too much.
But he's he's really cool, and like I'm hoping that they might add a few more My Bloody Valentine.
That's what I was hoping too.
Because Sean Clark represents every one of them. He just represents every single person that's within My Bloody Valentine that does conventions. Sean Clark is their agent. And I know that they did that once before. It might have been like a Monster Mania or something. They had like a full out My Bloody Valentine reunion at one of those shows where they just brought in like everybody they could possibly get.
What makes me sad though is so many of those guys have passed away.
Yeah.
Now, Paul Kelman passed away, and I would have loved to have met him. He's the one that played TJ in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, I'm just losing. I hate that when they're on the tip of my tongue, and I.
Oh yeah, I hate it too, Dana, more than you know, because I do
had
that
them
so
all
much.
right there.
I do that so much, and like it especially bothers me when I can't think if it's something I really am passionate about, I really care about, and like and I have like say Friday 13th is my favorite horror franchise, right? And like I know so much about that franchise, the people involved with it, the actors, the crew, everything. And then like there's been times when I've been talking to somebody and I'll just like forget somebody simple like Amy Steele or John Fury or something like that, for some of the main characters from the films. And I can't think in that moment, I can't think of their name or something. And I'm like, God, what is wrong with me?
Yeah. Alf Humphreys, that's the played Howard in the movie. He passed away. Keith Knight passed away a long time ago. I don't think Keith Knight, who played Hollis in the movie, I don't think he ever. I don't recall him ever.
How long ago was that when Al Humphreys died? What? Is that what was it, about 10 years ago or something?
I think it was just after they did that Tampa Bay convention, and he was sick then.
2018 he passed.
Yeah.
Oh, that was just about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But I do remember seeing him like doing shows and stuff before that.
Yeah, and I mean that wasn't the only thing he was in. He was in a lot of other Canadian stuff too. He was in Funeral Home as well with Leslie Dawson. He plays a cop in Funeral Home.
It looks like he was in almost all of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies. I only seen I think that first Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie though. I watched it with Noah because he likes those books and stuff too. But I don't remember seeing Al Humphreys in it. Maybe I need to go see that again.
Mayor says, Dana, do you have the My Bloody Valentine steelbook, the one that was sold with the figure, or did you get the clamshell package minor figure? Now, I got the minor. I think Steve got me the minor by itself. But then Steve also got me, let me just grab this real quick since we're showing stuff off here.
Now they did 2 different versions of that 8-inch NECA minor figure. There's one it's like in a box, like a rectangle box packaging, and then the other one's like a blister. They call it a blister packaging, where it has
Oh,
like.
mine's actually the box.
Okay, so that was the first release then. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's the one that I like too. I don't have it, but I would like to eventually get it because I really like those box packaging for those 8-inch figures. I have a couple of them. I have the Adrian Barbeau, Stevie Wayne figure from the Fog like
I think
that,
that's cool.
and I have the Dr. Chalice, Tom Atkins
Mhm.
figure from Halloween 3.
But Steve did get me this more recently. Um, this was a Gutter Garbs and Scream Factory mashup or whatever you want to call it. But let me open this up for you guys.
But yeah, they did a couple releases like that with like the figure where it was in the box packaging first, and then they re-released it in like the blister packaging with the new artwork from like I know like because Nathan Milliner has done some artwork on some of those figures, and Ed Repka that was who if you know Ed Repka, he did like a lot of the cover art for Megadeth albums and stuff, but they did that with a Silent Night, Deadly Night Billy figure. Like it was first in the box packaging, and then they
And
re-released it.
I have Billy and his brother. I have both of them in the boxes up there on my.
You talking about Eric Freeman's character Ricky?
Yeah,
Um,
I got him too.
and you said they're in the box packaging.
Mhm.
You know, both of those guys are going to be at Horror
I
Hound.
know I could get both of
You
those
could
signed.
take all 3. You could take Harry Warden or the Miner, whatever you want to call him. You could take that one. You could take Ricky and Billy and get them all signed. They look
Steve
really
would
nice.
probably be, you're crazy now. You're going to take all these figures in these damn boxes.
Well, I went and got mine signed by Adrian Barbeau. I mean, it. If that's what you want to get signed, ain't nobody's damn business.
You know how Steve is, though. But I did want to show my enamel pins off that came with this set. I know some people in our circles make fun of people that get enamel pins, but I don't get every enamel pin that comes out. But I did like this set, though. Mary said, I wish they would reissue the Angel and Night of the Demons figure. I do too. I think Steve has that one. I need her to go along with my Suzanne and Stooge set. But I don't think I have a steel book per se of my Bloody Valentine. I think this came with the 4K.
If somebody wants to make fun of somebody for having enamel pins, they can make fun of me because I got a pin board I'm working on. It's got all kinds there.
Oh, that's cool though. That's
I
cool.
don't know if it's hard to see. Let me see if I can put it. So these ones up top here, they're like the My Pet Monster. You guys remember My Pet Monster? That's Jack from The Shining there, and then I have like Frankenstein, Wolfman, a creature, and like some of these like let's see, like these and that.
You got a Gremlins one. You got Stripe on there.
Yeah, I got Stripe, and it has like actually. Well, let's see. Like he has like the real fuzzy. Like you can I don't know if you see it, it's actually like fuzz, like hair, and then I got the Wolfman there from Lon Chaney, and then the Mummy and Phantom of the Opera, and just I love this stuff. I mean, people want to make fun of me, go right ahead.
I get ones that I think are cool, just like I got this from Gutter Garbs. That's a happy birthday to me.
I love that one. I didn't even know they made it. I would buy that one for sure. Oh, I don't know if I pointed the one out on here. I don't know if this is big kids are watching. You might want to turn it off. But hold on. This one right here. You see that?
Oh, the Wolfman's got nards.
Got a set of balls right there, and they swing back and forth. But they don't do it as well as like where it's on this pin board. But That's one of my favorite ones because Monster Squad's one of my favorite movies.
But I think Steve got me this one too. I think if you
That's
put
awesome
3D
too.
glasses on, because it says Dimensions of Fear, and
Now,
it's a
who made
little.
that one?
This is from a place called pixelelixir.com.
Hmm.
But I
I haven't
think
heard of
if
that one.
you put 3D glasses on where it says Dimensions of Fear on there, I'm thinking that'll be in 3D.
Now, there's a company that makes a bunch of that's their main source of like their products is enamel pens, and they're called Pensploitation, and
Ah,
they have like tons of awesome stuff. I think you would like, Dana.
oh, I'm sure I would. Probably stuff I don't need to be spending a lot of money on, but I probably
They can get expensive sometimes. Like now, I think like the most I've ever
there's
spent on.
another Army of
Oh, that
Darkness one
now
from.
that was that from Cavity Colors.
This is Gutter Garbs.
Oh, Gutter Garbs. Okay.
Uh,
I get them mixed up sometimes because Gutter Garbs has done Evil Dead and Army of Darkness stuff. Cavity Colors has, Fright Rags has, and they all do like the same stuff. They do shirts and pins.
mhm.
But yeah, I think the most I've ever spent on a pen that was probably $20, and but it was like, hey, let me see which if I got it on here. Um, it's these one, yeah, it's this one I got at the bottom here. It's not horror related.
Uh-huh.
It's Billy Bob from the Rockefeller
Oh yeah,
Explosion.
yeah.
And the reason it was that much because it raises up and it shows like the animatronic part of him inside.
That's
And
cool.
I've got some other like Rockefeller Explosion ones on there too, like another Billy Bob, a Mitzi, a Fats Gorilla there. Um, yeah, I don't know if anybody knows what Rockefeller Explosion is, but there's a documentary on it that you can check out on YouTube for free. It's really what got me into it and stuff because I grew up with like Chuck E. Cheese and stuff, and didn't really realize until I watched that documentary that Rockefeller Explosion and Showbiz Pizza and stuff was kind of the originators of that stuff.
Mayor says he's friends with the lady that owns Pensploitation. He's got a fade to black pen.
Yeah, she's really nice because she was set up one year that at FrankenCon that I went to, and she also, like I said, her main like product is pens, but she makes other stuff too. Like she does magnets. She actually does like handmade quilts. She had this really awesome handmade quilt at FrankenCon that year, and she was only asking $50 for it, and it was huge. I don't know why I didn't buy it, but it had like all these different characters on the whole quilt from the Friday the 13th franchise.
Oh wow! I bet
It was really amazing.
I have great respect for people that can create stuff like that, handmade, custom made stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but I hate to, because I've had so much fun once again talking about not only the movies we talked about tonight, but the other stuff, showing off some of our stuff, and getting ideas for things I want to take to Horror Hound and get signed in September.
Yeah.
And we've had a lively conversation going on. I'm glad to see the mayor in here again tonight, and Batman and Blissful was in here. TJ was in here. Candace was in here some of the time. I'm sure Candace is still watching because usually she tells me if she goes back down to her mom's, they will sit together and watch my streams that I do.
Yeah.
So
And that's something else I meant to mention was that because where I was at the flea market yesterday, I had to miss your Silly Sunday show while it was live, but I did go back and I watched the full thing last night, and y'all had a great show, and I
we had a fun
I
fun
really
show.
wish I could have been a part of that, especially talking about some of the people you were talking about, like especially Ripley and
Well,
Candace.
I tell you what, did Candace tell you you're welcome to pop in on this week's Friday Foolish if you can? You can
Yeah,
talk.
I know you all talked about that. And if I'm able to, which I'm sure I will be, I'll just have to wait because it's around the same time I have my lunch at work. So, but yeah, I would love to because I know I think you all said that it wasn't going to be like solely like horror, right? It was just going to be like kind of
Just
all.
across all genres.
All right, yeah. So because there's a lot you can kind of cover when you do that. I mean, which there's a lot that you can cover just in horror. But if you look across all genres, yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and not typically. And when we say that a woman is a badass,
Uh-huh.
that don't typically have to mean that like she's running around like Ripley or Sarah Connor
Right.
or somebody, and just like they can be badass in other ways as well.
Exactly.
So I hope I get to join you on Friday because I'll go into that more when we do that show.
Well, if for some reason you don't, me and Candace even talked about having a third part to this because there's just so much that we could talk about with it.
Yeah, and there was another thing I want to mention because it's something you actually mentioned on your and like as I was watching, I was like 100% Dana. That's something that I'm glad she brought that up, and that was that someone just made, I can't remember who it was. They just was just joking around with you, and they said like, "What about the badass men? Dana's gone full woke or something like that."
Yeah, that was X-Ray. He said that.
Yeah. So, but that was just, and then what you said afterwards, I was like, I'm glad Dana said that because that's 100% true, and that's a fact that when we think of badasses in movies, majority of the time people are going to go straight to mentioning all like the male characters like Arnold Schwarzenegger and all his films, Sylvester Stallone, like Bruce Campbell and the Evil Dead films, but in a lot of the time, unfortunately, the women badasses are overlooked. And there are times where some of those women can be more badass than any of the men can be.
Right.
And I think that was a really good idea for you guys to come up with that topic. So I'm glad you did.
And I think Batman, if you're still in here, please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm thinking Batman may have mentioned something about badass women, and then me and Candace got to thinking about it, and was like, "Yeah, that would be a good idea for a show."
Yeah, it is. I think because like I've probably I aggravate Candace as much as I've talked about it since me and her been together, but like Ripley is my favorite female character of all time out of any genre of film, any film I've ever seen. She's my favorite. And yeah, if I can come on the show on Friday, I would love to go more in about that and why I love that character so much.
If you're free at any point in time, you can definitely come on. And if I forget to send you the link, give me a gentle
Yeah,
nudge,
that's fine.
because I forget sometimes. I don't.
Well, typically you don't, Dana. So I mean, I'm sure it'll be fine either way.
You don't think you came up with that one, Batman? Well, I try to give credit where credit is due. I'm pretty sure somebody mentioned something about just badasses in general or badass women or something to the effect of strong.
Yeah, I remember it coming up somehow on one of your past streams. I just can't remember who brought it up.
Oh, thank you, Blissful. Blissful says, great live, Dana and Chris.
Thank you.
But on that note, I guess me and Chris will skedaddle on out of here for the night because once again, I've been drinking too many fluids have been going into my body, and so they're going to have to come back out. And that's all I'll say about it. And so be sure to tune in to Everybody Wants England tomorrow night, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. 80s cheesy horror. I do know you came up with that one as well, but I could have sworn maybe it was somebody else. But whoever it is, step up so I can say, thank you for bringing that up because I'm pretty sure somebody did. But on that note, I just want to remind everybody, as I always do, or always try to do now, is to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. And we'll see everybody next time. Bye for now, everybody.
Bye, everybody.